I'm sorry I'm doing this again, but dear Lewis Hamilton, welcome to Ferrari.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Blatantly Biased Racing Podcast. Yeah, Ferrari did Ferrari things. Where do we even begin with this one?
I mean, there are a lot of things. Except, I think what it was, except the 90 minutes on track, there were a lot of things to talk about and a lot of fun things that happened throughout the Chinese Grand Prix race weekend, right?
Yeah.
Let's start at the top then. Oscar Piastri.
Yeah.
He is a title contender now. I think now you would agree with that, isn't
He's
it?
driving a rocket ship. It's an easy win. Let's be honest. No. No. Thoroughly impressive. Yeah. From start to finish. We'll obviously talk about Lando in a bit and his antics in the sprint and stuff. But yeah, Oscar Piastri, just brilliant. Like your only attack on him realistically could be the sprint weekend, like not getting on pole. But I mean, neither did Lando, and Lando was further back. So clearly there was issues with the car there. Yeah, I'm really, like, genuinely, the thing is, I said earlier this season, I think we both spoke about this a few times, which is just like his racecraft, his attitude, like the way he bounced back is brilliant. It's all the things you need for a world champion. The only thing he was missing was his pace, like his speed. And he's gotten that this weekend. So it's, he just needs to keep that up.
The case, yeah. I think for me, the most important thing is I think we've talked about it a lot. The trajectory with Oscar is something that has been a topic of discussion because he peaked a bit in the first season. He kind of flattened things out in the second season. Now what we are seeing is a driver that is, again, I don't want to jump the gun too early because we only had 2 races. Maybe things come back to normal or come back to how it used to be in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But what I see right now is, at least for now, what he's done is he's stemmed the flow that he's stemmed the kind of momentum that Lando gained in the first race. It was not only pole position, it was a win while Oscar kind of fucked things up. He was P9.
Yep.
He conceded around 22, 23 points. He's gained a chunk of them back this time around. He's still fourth in the championship.
Yeah.
So again, the gap is there, but at least when it comes to making a statement, I mean, yeah, the word is used a lot, but still, at least when it comes to that, he has made one.
Yeah.
So that on that sense, I think it's a good thing.
Hey, just a quick interruption because we have a problem here, which is that for the last few months, we've been saying that if you're offended, subscribe. We've kind of been saying that. We've been saying if you're not offended, don't subscribe. It's the same thing. I'm sure you understand English if you're watching this, so you've got it, I'm sure. But turns out 60% of you have not been offended. And I just can't sleep. I don't know about you, Casual, but I just can't sleep at night knowing that we haven't offended 60% of the audience. I think we need to start. You sleep okay? Well, I haven't, because there are 7.5% of you are Indians that haven't been offended, for example. I think we just need to fix this. So I'm just going to take a minute of your time to just make sure that everyone watching this is thoroughly offended. So I've written down a couple of things, Casual, and you can tell me if you think this is offensive enough. So let's offend those Hindus and Indians first, quickly.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. Oh, Jesus, no. Don't do that.
Is that too offensive? No? Okay.
You don't live in India.
Yeah.
And I'm not a Hindu.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that offensive? So that is offensive then?
That's not only offensive, that's going to get me lynched. So please don't do that.
All right. Well, I'll think about cutting it out afterwards. Is there... By the way, 15% of you watching are British, and I'd just like to say that your sports cars now are so gay that the best selling model is the LGB GT. No? Offensive? No?
Maybe.
And of course, the 20% of Americans here, there's no need to insult you because you'll just do what you always do, which is show up after everyone else has done the hard work. So we'll probably cut that Hindu joke out, should we?
Yes.
Yeah? What I'll do is...
I'm still too young to die.
Okay. So... If you have been offended, please subscribe. If you haven't, then tell us how we can offend you and we'll subscribe you. And if a lot of Indian people subscribe, we'll maybe show you a behind the scenes of what that joke was at some point. Thank you, everybody. Now back to the podcast. Look, he needed to beat Lando in qualifying. Like, that was Lando's strong point. Last year it was, what, 22-2 or something, or 21?
20-4.
Yeah, 20-4. So, like, ridiculous, just whitewashing across the season almost. So that was the only thing he really needed to fix. Like, we've both agreed over time that his racecraft is excellent. Like, you know, his overtaking, his just natural instinct is there. So the question will be now, like, there was quite a few scruffy moments from Lando this weekend. So the question will be, like, on Lando's good weekends where he's very, very quick, can Oscar be up there? But I think, honestly, even if he can maintain this consistency, I think this puts him in good stead, because we know Lando has those off weekends. And if Oscar can just make sure he's there or thereabouts, and then kind of capitalizing when Lando has those bad weekends, I think, yeah, there's a few title contenders this year. And I think Oscar is one of them now. Like, just hands down is one of them. Yeah.
I think we're probably touching on it a bit earlier. McLaren is a tough car to drive, apparently, isn't it? Because I think what happened was, on Thursday when they had the press conference, the first thing that Lando said was, okay, yeah, the car is fast. That's okay. But there is one major issue, and the issue is that it is very on the edge when it comes to getting the peak performance. And when that is the case, it becomes very difficult to drive. And he said that he was nursing a lot of things. Even in Australia, when he won the race, he said he was in the lead. But there were moments where he was quite sure he didn't have the pace to, answer to both Max and Oscar at certain points. It was just that he was in the lead. He kind of managed things around.
I mean, maybe that's just something.
Problems.
Well, maybe that's just something with these cars, right? Because, like, I mean, we see that with Red Bull being so peaky, so difficult to drive. Like the Ferrari as well, like, they've got a nicely balanced car now, but it's slow, you know? Like, maybe this is just a case of when you're getting to the upper edge of these regulations, it's just going to become more and more difficult to drive. You know, maybe that is just hand in hand with these.
My slight worry is that what we've reached a point with McLaren where the car is right on the edge when it comes to getting the peak performance, and Mercedes is around 2 to 3 tenths behind, and that car does not look like a car that is violent.
No, it doesn't.
When it's attacking different corners. So if teams, and again, Toto touched on it where he said that we need to find some time, and one thing that works for us is this time around the car is driver friendly. Which is a surprise that as soon as Lewis leaves, the car is driver friendly.
Do you reckon, this is a bit of a, like, obviously there's no way to really answer this and it's probably a bit conspiratorial maybe, but do you reckon there's any chance that McLaren have kind of just gone ahead and built wings that are kind of anti-flex, like are at that 10 millimeter already, because they don't want to just see what happens?
The front wing?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like, because we know some performance comes from that.
I don't think they had enough time, to be honest. They neither of them had the time. It was in
December, right? January.
No. January, late January. So it was very late. And from that point, you don't really have the lead time is not there. And
well, I mean, you could keep the same wing and just stiffen it and see what happens.
It's not as simple, because the entire car structure, the entire, you can say, the flow changes. And you have to, basically, the thing that happens is you don't only change the front wing, you have to make adjustments.
Of course, yeah,
to
the whole thing.
Everything.
But that's my point. Do you think maybe they've just gone ahead and done this to kind of go, right, well, we know we're going to have to correlate all of this and fix all of it. So let's not bring, all these changes at one race in Barcelona. Let's start testing from the first run.
Do you
because
think
they have been a bit more...
It?
I don't know. I wonder if
team...
it's...
Yeah, just keep in mind this is a team that lost a championship that it should have won last season.
Sure.
So it's not a team that's high on confidence.
Sure, but I think we've seen they have learned a little bit from last season as well. So I do wonder, I don't know, maybe I'm just thinking out loud, like maybe Rob Marshall kind of immediately as it came out said, look, we can stiffen this up and do this. Let's just see how it goes. And maybe it is a case of, right, we still have the performance. We now need to tweak this balance, and it's better to learn that now than jump into Barcelona Because it is strange that a car that was so easy to handle last year is suddenly very, very peaky.
But McLaren has never been easy to handle. Remember, Daniel had a lot of issues with
Yeah.
it, and when Oscar came in, and Lando
But
has
that
been
was
very
their big
consistent about
update
it, right?
last year, right? That was what kind of opened the floodgates for them last year, was fixing a lot of those balance issues. So it's strange that they're back to having those
They're
problems
back to
again
having
now.
that, yeah. But again, it's fast. I think it's just the fact that when these cars get faster, it's more and more on edge. And right now, both drivers are finding it's maybe the biggest issue seems to be on braking. That's where both of them kind of struggled, and I think Lando fucked it. Lando had struggled in the sprint shootout but in qualifying, I think he was already cooked by the time he had the second lap. I think we'll need a few more races to see, because China is a peculiar track. I think we talked about it earlier. The front limited nature of it. It kind of came into play this time around quite extensively, where in the sprint as well. So maybe a few more races. I think Japan is going to be a race where McLaren just steamrolls everything.
Yeah, I think so.
Aerodynamically efficient tracks, and that's a bit of a forte.
Yeah.
Red Bull could be better because, again, fast speed sections, so that works for them as well. It's just that, again, the car is fast, but it's not bulletproof, and
Yes.
a lot of people are just. I hate this, that every time you get a slightly good car, it starts being equivalent to the dominant Mercedes of the turbo hybrid era, or the dominant Red Bull of the 2023-2022 season.
Yeah.
This is
And
not
it's
that.
nowhere near that.
Yeah.
Like, if it was anywhere near that, it would be like, okay, on the sprint weekend on Saturday, Lando falls down to sixth, he would have finished second still. Like, that's how much quicker those cars were.
100%. And it's not only that. Russell was barking off bullshit when he said that McLaren does not need to develop the car anymore, because that is just not the case.
That's
everyone
George being
refuted that.
PR expert,
Yeah, a
right?
bit of it, isn't it? And
Yeah.
everyone refuted that, because Leclerc was asked, he said no. Max even said that that's just not the case at this moment, and I think Lewis, to a certain extent, was also a bit like that. Okay, maybe that's going a bit too far. So it's just that you can't. 2 to 3 tenths. It's basically one mistake, and the weekend is gone.
Yeah.
We saw it with the sprint, and we'll see a lot of it in the future. And I think people are taking too much stock into the fact that these two races, where McLaren did brilliantly last season, even before the Miami upgrade,
Yeah.
they've shown a strong McLaren, but I don't think they've shown a bulletproof McLaren.
Look, to put this in really easy context, like if you look at the 2023 season with Red Bull had a 2 to 3 tenth advantage in qualifying and a 7/10 advantage in the race, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
throughout the season, there were various times where other drivers beat Max in qualifying, because 2/10 can be overcome by a driver, right? There's so little areas where you can just kind of pull back that time. But then in the race, he's just passing them and gone, because 7/10 is just, you just can't deal with that. Like, there's no way to deal with that over a lap. So yeah, 2/10 is like the area where someone just being consistent in driving can overcome that if you're within 2/10. And we've seen that with Max, like Max hunting down Lando in Australia, we've seen that. And I mean, Max was 16 seconds off in China, which sounds like a lot, but over the race distance, like,
It's not.
the car, that means that, like, all things going perfectly.
57 laps, right?
Yeah.
I think, and that is around 2.5 tenths. Sorry, it's 3 tenths over the entire distance.
Something
That's
like that,
nothing.
yeah.
3 tenths is nothing. It's basically one major upgrade, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
That's the kind of
So
margin.
there's your answer, like, because there was no safety car, nothing like that. So that's just pure race pace from, like, where Verstappen was.
You're right. There was no stoppage.
Yeah. So there's your answer. Like, it's not like a second a lap or anything. So yeah. So if anyone says, 2/10 is loads, it's like, okay, well, like, it's not, because with a 2/10 advantage, Max was beaten in various qualifyings in 2020. Not a lot, but a few qualifyings in 2023.
Yeah.
And Max is a very, very good qualifier. So it's not like
Finally, people realize that as well now. Apparently, he was not. Apparently, Leclerc was a bad racer as well in the eyes of many. And a lot of myths are being busted recently.
people just like saying stupid things that it's confirmation bias over and over again. So Oscar
We'll
did a
get
really
to
good
that
job.
as well. One thing about McLaren, what pissed you off about McLaren's weekend? Race execution specifically. I think you've seen. I hope you've seen the run. You have seen the rundown that I gave it to you.
The what?
I shared with you, right?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, you haven't. Yeah.
Race stage management. The car is not. So what's? Yeah, but I'm trying to think. Like I saw the note race stage management. I saw it 2 seconds ago. But what is the? What
Okay.
specifically
So
is this
apparently
talking about?
a lot of McLaren fans got pissed off, and if you remember, shared this whole thing that what did we learn from the entire weekend, and my one thing was that McLaren stage managing races is probably something that's not going to happen too many times in the future.
Yeah.
Because what happened this time, and I think it was quite obvious that McLaren was a bit spooked once again with how the sprint went, where not Leclerc, both Norris and Oscar, they struggled from tire wear a bit late in the race. And they didn't want to have that kind of a scenario again. So what happened was they had both of them running at a delta. That this is the pace that you're going to maintain, both of them. That's why we had team radios of Lando coming in and saying that Oscar needs to push, needs to pick up the pace so that he can, yeah. And while that is once or twice, okay, that's fine. That was why I had that agitated tweet that does Lando not know that Oscar is his championship rival this season, because that's not how he treated the race. I think after this race Lando knows. He got the realization a bit late when the whole podium thing happened. Next time around, I don't think they're going to be sitting back and just letting the whole thing.
So what happened on the podium? Because bear in mind, like the race is finished at like 4 a.m. for me, so I just
I
decided
feel
like I don't remember the podiums.
Yeah, but that's fine. Plus you might be drunk by that time. It's
Of course, yeah,
weekend.
I'm Irish at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
those are prime drinking hours.
Yeah. He did look a bit flat in terms of, okay, yeah, the podium is there, podium is back. He was a bit relieved that the whole brake issue kind of didn't really screw things up for him.
Almost did, yeah.
Almost did.
Yeah.
It's just that he also realized that Oscar is going to be a tough cookie to crack.
Yeah.
And he might be his primary challenger in the title battle. Next time around, I don't think either of them are going to back off in terms of let's manage the race and stuff.
Yeah.
I think now things are going to slowly start ramping up. And if McLaren thinks that it can stage manage every race on the basis of who is ahead after the first lap. And I think first of all, if the drivers
gonna
let
happen.
them do it, I mean, still, if the drivers let them do it, it's a bad look on the drivers. And if the team thinks that it is going to happen, I think it also shows a bit of a naivety on that front as well.
I think, like, for example, in Australia, when we saw that call, right, that everyone was fairly annoyed about, and I understand why I understand why as a fan. We talked about this last time. But the thing is,
And
I
I was
think
right.
well, no, not really, because I said it was that specific situation. My point is, like, if that happens in a specific situation like that once every 10, 12 races, I think the drivers will be like, okay, look, fair enough. Like, as long as McLaren is making the right calls, like on strategy and that kind of thing everywhere else. If they start trying to do shit like that, like at every race weekend, the drivers are just going to start ignoring it. And I think, like, we saw Lando in Hungary, how close he was to just not giving that position back. And we've seen how Oscar is in terms of just being ruthless. And I think if Oscar knows he's now in a title fight, he's going to be like, both of them will be less and less likely to do that. So I think it's a case of, if it's like every 6 or 7 races where there's a specific, like, oh shit, right, this could really fuck our strategy, and they explain it right, I think the drivers will be like, okay, like, fair enough, these things happen. Unless it's like down to the wire the last 3 races, in which case all bets are off. But like, I think, as you said, if this starts happening like every race weekend, there's some sort of team order or intervention, yeah, those drivers in no way are going to keep up with it. Like, people say Lando's not ruthless, and I agree, he's not like as ruthless as, say, a Max, and I think Oscar has the edge on him there. But he also isn't, like, we've seen him a few times where he doesn't like to be just told what to do by the teams, So I think this is his last chance maybe at a title for all he knows. And I think he knows that. And I think Oscar probably knows that as well, to the extent, that 2026 is next year. No one knows where they're going to be. Like, this is your last chance. The way you have to think about it,
Exactly. And what were two key weaknesses of Lando last season?
Not being aggressive enough and making too many mistakes in reality.
Bad starts.
Bad
and
starts, yeah.
Wheel to wheel being a bit iffy.
Yeah.
What did he do in China? Great start, jumped to place.
Except in the sprint.
Yeah, but that's not the start. That's basically him fucking up, being a moron.
Yeah.
So great start in the race, and the overtake on George was. I think
It was
that caught
brilliant.
everyone off
Yeah.
guard.
Brilliant.
And
I don't know why either. Like, Lando has this reputation as a bad wheel-to-wheel racer, and I just don't. This is like the whole George Russell thing. It's like people take the latest argument from Twitter and just go, "Oh, well, that must be true then." Like with George Russell's not a great driver. It's like, did you watch his entire career? Like, what are you talking about? But with Lando, for example, I don't know if you remember, it was in Monza in 2021, right, where he went onto the grass to overtake, like just fearless. I remember.
overtook Leclerc.
Yeah, I remember Brundle being like, Jesus, he doesn't have any fears, does he? It was just like amazing. And yeah, I don't know why people think, like, Lando, I think, isn't as ruthless as Max, but very few drivers are. But he's still a brilliant wheel-to-wheel racer,
I think the problem that happens with fans is that the memory is very short term. So a lot of them do not remember the kind of season that Lando put together in 2021.
Yeah.
I think it was after Austria, which was I think 7th or 8th round. He was third in the championship ahead of both Checo and Bottas.
Yeah.
And he was driving a McLaren that was at least half a second slower than both of those cars.
Yeah. If you want to know about recency bias, like, we'll talk about this at the weekend, but like literally in the space of a weekend, Lewis went from fuck, Lewis is going to destroy Leclerc to haha, Lewis got disqualified, he's losing it, Ferrari are fucked. Like, I know we'll talk about it later, but that's how short term things are. Like, it literally, people remember the last session. That's it. Like,
Exactly. And it gets a bit tough, right? Because there was someone who, and I've actually heeded your advice, but started muting a lot of people and started ignoring them.
It's a good idea.
Because it's a good idea. So how apparently there was a discussion where I quoted that Max is at the top right now. That I don't think there is anyone that comes close to him. And then there is Lewis, Leclerc, Lando, George. They are all on the same level. And the fact that I put Lando in the same category pissed a lot of people off for no reason whatsoever. And I shared the reasons why, but the thing is, people are not really.
No
easy
one
to
reads the reasons. Like, literally, like, I have a it's like different thing from F1, but like, I can't remember what documentary it is, but the amount of comments I have on like my brain is going blank on what it was, but the amount of comments on one thing I said, that literally the people in the comments say the thing that I say 2 minutes later, is like, people just don't even want, they're just like, oh, he said something bad, I'm not watching this anymore. And it's like 2 minutes later, I agree with you. Like, just relax and calm down for a minute.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah.
But if you are offended, please subscribe. Sorry, go on.
And even if you're not, subscribe still subscribe.
60% of you haven't
engaging
subscribed.
conversation, and it's good F1 chat.
It's all right.
No sugarcoating, none of that nonsense. So
it's a bit of sugarcoating. It's fine.
Still, sugar's nice. A bit of it is nice.
Yeah.
I think just to sum it up, I think McLaren would be happy, but I don't think that they go away from China thinking that the championships are in the bag and both of these drivers are going to battle it out amongst themselves.
Yeah.
The gap is too small.
The
gap is too small, and that is something I keep saying. I've seen a lot of doom posting by mostly Max Verstappen fans, and I don't think they realize that he's completely in the battle at this stage. He's not out of it.
No, nowhere near.
No fucking way you can even think about that.
I think, like, unless we get to the halfway point and he's like 70 points behind, which is just a really, like, even then I wouldn't write Max off completely till the end just because Max is Max. But like, at the moment,
I think by mid-season we'll know.
Yeah, we'll kind of look. By the mid-season, like, the teams are also going to be at the point where they're going to have to just give up on these developments, like, apart from maybe McLaren. So, like, even Red Bull is going to have to see the writing on the wall by the mid-season, because if they
I mean, who
lose
the
this,
fuck knows if these regulations continue into
yeah, we'll be
2026?
talking about that in a bit as well. But yeah. So it's only 8 points at the minute. So
Yeah.
so hold on. So we've got 8 points back to Verstappen. Then it's 9 points to
George.
George. Yes, and then 10
It's
points
not
to
9. I think it's more than that.
No. There's only 1 point between George and Max. I know that for sure.
You sure?
Yeah,
Did
I'm almost
George
100%.
jump? I
Or
don't
maybe it's Oscar. Maybe it's 2 points. But I know there's only like 2 points between the three behind.
Okay, it's 40. Yeah, George is only 1 point. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so
George
it's
is
what
1
is it?
point
George is
behind
35.
Max.
Yeah, and Piastri's 10 points behind Norris, then, so 1 point further back.
Yeah.
And
Actually,
Albon
it
is
was.
ahead of both Ferraris.
Wait. No. It's not only Albon. It's Albon,
And
Ocon,
Stroll.
Lance Stroll.
So, Lewis, how do you think Ferrari is going? Yeah. I mean, like, Vettel couldn't win a Ferrari. I could win a Ferrari. 2 races in. You're behind Lance Stroll. Oh, fucking hell. But anyway.
Exactly. Again, I'd not thought about making it a theme, but I mean, let's make it a theme. Every time there is a fuck up from Ferrari, we'll start the podcast with "Dear Lewis Hamilton,
Welcome to Ferrari. Yeah. And it's not
Yeah.
any bashing at Lewis, to be honest. It's more bashing his fans. Just because the amount of them who were like, oh, Vettel was useless. Like, he could only win in a new car. And when he went to Ferrari, he was dog shit. And it's like, yeah, because Ferrari breaks people. Like, it's not everyone, basically, since Schumacher, I swear to God, Schumacher and Jean Todt must have made up a thing where they're like, only new world champions at this team going forward. And they did that for 1 year with Kimi Räikkönen by accident, and then went, yeah, no more of this shit. So, yeah.
Jesus. I mean, it's yeah.
Should
Oh,
we talk
God.
about Ferrari now, or do
Yeah,
we want to?
I think let's. Okay, there are 2 ways we can go about it. First is Lewis Hamilton's weekend, or second is the Fred Vasseur thing. So where should we start? Take a pick.
Let's start with Lewis, and then you can tell me what the Fred Vasseur thing is, because I don't know. So
Yeah.
that would be interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, congratulations to Lewis. The pole position and win was
Spectacular.
It was vintage Lewis.
Yeah, really great. Yeah. Like, this is the thing. Like, I don't want to bash Lewis either, because he's actually beating my expectations in terms of like taking on Charles, because he's been even when he's been behind Charles, it's not been like as kind of embarrassingly behind as I probably thought it would be. Just knowing how good Charles was, knowing that it's Ferrari, embedding all these different things. So I've been impressed with Lewis, and that sprint race was brilliant by Lewis. So this is more a dig at like just Ferrari, and to be honest, again, when I'm laughing about this, it's more just, I think, because of the amount of people, including Lewis a bit, who gave Mercedes shit last year, that are like, I can't wait for him to go to Ferrari. And it's like, have you been watching Formula One for the past like 18
I mean, most
seasons?
of the titles are won because of Ferrari's incompetence.
So
Yeah.
like, it's the amount of people who are like, oh, well, Vettel was just shit. That's what I just found funny, because it's like, I don't think you watched those seasons. Like, I really don't, because Ferrari is like, winning a title is hard. Winning a title with Ferrari is like going on ultra mode. It's like survival mode, basically. So yeah, like, fair play to Lewis. That was spectacular. And honestly, it was great to see him like so upbeat in the sprint.
Yeah.
I did kind of worry that as soon as that happened, I was like, this race is going to go to dog shit, because I don't know am I crazy, or is it maybe a good idea for Ferrari to just stop thinking? Because it's been a running trend that, like, on sprint weekends.
They think.
Yeah. No, this is what I mean.
You're making a huge assumption here, by the way.
No, I'm not saying they're thinking correctly. I'm saying they're thinking, which is wrong. Like, my point is, every time there's a sprint weekend or some situation where there's where Ferrari can't get any practice in, they really do well. And then as soon as they have a weekend to prepare, they fuck it up. So I think from now on, they should just show up in FP1, go out on track, turn everything off, and just go, right, let's just leave it alone now. The engine hasn't burned. We're good.
There was something, by the way. I think there's a lot to be said about the way Lewis approached the weekend and everything. Because recently in the last couple of races, I've started digging deep into the telemetry thing, and you can see where he was making up time compared to Leclerc entirely in the first wiggly bit that you have. 2 tenths, that's what he gained there, and that's it. Throughout
Okay.
the entire lap, there was neither a gain or a loss between the two of them. They were neck and neck.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
that kind of showed that Lewis had a lot of confidence in the car. For whatever reason, he nailed everything. Again, there's one thing that a lot of people do not really take into context is China is one of Lewis's favorite tracks. He's
Yeah.
been brilliant here,
Yeah, yeah.
and he was, I think
2007,
he
he was
was,
great here.
yeah. I mean, just because of him, they've had to remove the gravel and put the whole thing there.
That's now called the Hamilton runoff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he went there again this weekend, so old habits die hard. Uh, the thing was, even last season, he was on front row in the sprint, and then in the race, things kind of whittled away.
Yep.
Again, he made changes between the sprint and the race. So that's something that's been a bit of a trend. He was
He needs
second
to
last
leave
season
the
in sprint.
car alone.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But there's also this thing, right, where the gap that was there between him and Leclerc, and you have to commend Leclerc for this, because it was quite clear that he was all at sea with the car. He
Yeah.
had no fucking clue.
And no
The
front wing.
sprint, yeah, the entire, you can say, the sprint shootout, even the sprint that was there, he was how easily Russell jumped him on the first lap. That's interesting, right? That was just a sign of Leclerc trying to figure out what he had under him. But
Yeah.
from the sprint to the qualifying, you could already see in the gaps that the two had. In the first sector, the gap was gone. The gap between Lewis and Leclerc was primarily in the second sector, which was roughly around 0.08 0.08 seconds, which is what, 800
He was
overall.
also managing that damage as well. Like there was,
That is still later. I'm talking about the qualifying.
Oh,
where
okay,
the
right. Yeah,
primary
yeah,
gap
yeah,
was.
yeah. Sorry,
Because
yeah.
in the race the gaps kind of changed because they manage, and the power, you can say the power unit, the levels that are there, they're different in every lap, so you don't really get a real picture on that front. But in qualifying as well, the gap was closed, and then you move to race, and that was an entirely different picture. And what
Yeah.
you could see is, again, a lot of people said that losing the losing the front wing was one of the reasons why Leclerc was faster. That wasn't.
No.
There are even more utterly insane, lunatic morons who are saying that since Leclerc was 1 kilometer faster, 1 kg lighter.
Yeah. I am listening, by the way. I just need to turn this lamp down in front of me because
Yeah,
it's
sure,
baking
sure.
my
Go
forehead.
for it, go for it. So apparently that 1 kg and lent around, what, I don't know, 6 or 10 seconds in the entire race, and that gave them the benefit. The reality is none of that is true. Leclerc lost around 20 to 30 points of downforce, and he probably had the second fastest car next to McLaren. It
Yeah.
was just that in qualifying, Ferrari is poor. So when you talk about Lewis Hamilton's entire weekend, I think there's the good bit is that natural talent is still there and he can still harness it.
Yeah,
When the
yeah,
pace
yeah.
is there, he'll probably make the most of it. It's finding that sweet spot, which can be a bit troubling, which was a bit troubling last season as well, and which might be a bit troubling here. Still, as a driver, I don't think, I mean, after 2 races, I don't want to shit on Lewis because he's not done many things wrong.
Yeah.
It's the team that has basically given him the best possible welcome that they could have. So,
Yeah. I just I wonder like what Ferrari's going to do here now, because like they're quite a bit behind already. Well, the drivers especially are quite a bit behind already now. You know?
team, they are
Yeah.
what? They are
Well, the team is fifth,
level with
joint with Williams. Yeah,
Williams.
so they're 17 points. So, like the thing is, in the constructors, they're like 50 points or something off of McLaren, or 60 maybe, which is a lot already after 2 races. But like that can be overcome over a season, especially if McLaren have off days and so on. The bigger
pretty
issue
good
is
races.
like Yeah, but the bigger issue is like what 27, 28 points already between say Lewis and no, it's more, isn't it?
More than
No,
that.
it's
It's
30.
34, if
So
I'm not
34 or
wrong.
35 points. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So like
it's around
I think the
35.
biggest
Yeah.
swing in history of F1 was 34 points, right? Which was
No,
2020.
no,
No,
no, a
50?
lot more.
50 points?
Vettel had a swing of around 44 points to Alonso in 2012.
I know what was the one with Verstappen and Leclerc as well.
Was
That was
the,
quite big.
yeah, 40 points even then.
Yeah.
It
I
was
think
basically Leclerc winning two races, and that's 52 points, and there was 18 points, so that's 70. 44, 45 points, something like that.
yeah. So like I'm just looking at it here. I'll pull it up now.
46 points, I think. No, 44 points.
40 so it was 46 points yeah in 2022, 44 points in 2012 with Vettel that you were
Vettel.
talking about,
Yeah.
and Kimi Räikkönen was 72 points in 2007. So that's the biggest one in modern history. The rest of them are like you have to go quite a bit back then.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I mean it is overcomable. Like the thing is, it's just like it just puts them on such a back foot that they're already like way more than a race win down each. Especially the only thing going for them, I think, is one, there's still 22 races, which is a lot to kind of work with, and two, it's probably going to be a season where there's going to be a big, like, some big swings at tracks where like McLaren will fall off, Ferrari could do well, Ferrari could
Yeah.
drop, Mercedes could come up, that kind of thing. That could help them. But it's just when you think about like two races and they're already 28 or 34 points down, that's insane. Like
Yeah,
that's
but I I honestly, for me, that's not even the worrying bit. For me, the worrying bit is, and I think it's about time we start getting a bit realistic about where Ferrari is. And remember, throughout the end of last season, I've been critical about one thing, that a lot of Fred Vasseur seems to be a bit of a vibes thing that there is.
yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah,
when
yeah.
you get into the nitty-gritty, the problems that Ferrari had or has had in the past, they are still there. In terms of the carelessness with the strategy, in terms of the way a lot of times the team under delivers, that is still there. It's just that last season a lot of the you can say the spotlight was on McLaren. It was somehow the fuck ups that Ferrari had, they kind of got swept under the under the rug.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
should have won Baku. They should have won Singapore. They probably should have won. I'm forgetting one more race. The point is, when you talk about that and you look back, they should have been world champions last season as well, and they weren't.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
now
yeah,
this
yeah.
season, I think the biggest indictment on Ferrari has to be that the fact that in Australia, a race that they dominated last season, they were nowhere this time around. They got P8, P10, and even if you can say if they had a normal weekend, they still had the fourth fastest car. Going from the best car to the fourth fastest car, and questions need to be asked. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Changing 99% of the car. I mean, I raised red flags on this to
Oh, we,
out.
we talked about this in the preseason. Like
Yeah,
this is a big concern because they're changing big things about the car coming into a regulation set where,
exactly.
it's ending. They can't change it. What was the deal with Fred Vasseur? Because I didn't hear
Yeah,
this.
that's what I'm going to get to now. Because again, Fred Vasseur, he's perceived as someone who is very calm, very level-headed, not political and stuff like that. But when you talk about it, the strategies are same as before. There's literally nothing you can say that Ferrari has remarkably changed. The culture has changed and anything has changed. It's still the same thing. And this is the third season of Fred Vasseur in the team. So what's the change that has happened? Nothing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Then you talk about the in-season development. How does Ferrari go from a team that was neck and neck with McLaren in the second half of last season and is nowhere this time, and it's what, fourth fastest right now?
Yeah,
How did that
probably.
happen? Yeah, how did that happen? And amongst all the marketing nonsense, and I mean, why the fuck is he upset about the team radio? why is that even the focus? Why is that? How does that gain attention
I
on a
mean,
weekend where you won a sprint and you should have done better in the race?
in fairness, like, is that the only thing he said, or is that just the thing that everyone picked up on? I wonder, because
No, so what happened was, again, the interview was pre-disqualification. But even if you take disqualification out of the equation, just put it on one side, even it's a big.
you still fucked up the weekend anyway.
Yeah,
Like, it
it's
was already
P5,
bad.
P6 after
Yeah.
winning the sprint,
Yeah.
and it's entirely on pace.
Yeah, yeah,
What was going on?
yeah.
You have there is, and again, look at, if at this
I
point
will.
in time
I will
someone
say.
asks,
I will say those
yeah.
radio messages were pretty bullshit though, because they clearly purposely left that bit out. You know.
But which commentary were you following?
So I was watching the Sky one.
Yeah, but they specified it at up front, right?
Huh?
At the when the Hamilton thing came up, when the first time the Ferrari team radio came in, Sky very quickly specified that Lewis was the one who initiated the
Yeah, yeah,
conversation,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
But
they
they,
always maintained this context. So
yeah,
if now, as far as I know, the data that I got access to, around 90% of global audience follows Sky Sports. And
yeah.
Sky Sports was very explicit in telling that this is how the whole thing has gone on, where
They
Lewis is the one that is initiated.
they said
What's
it,
the
but
issue?
they said it, I think, at the start, or Martin or someone said it at the start. But
Yeah,
but they just left the radio out, which obviously just gave easy fodder for everyone who wasn't paying attention for a minute to just go, wait, what?
It
And just,
happens,
yeah.
right? You
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't.
I can understand why he was annoyed though, because without that context, it does seem like, Lewis is kind of going, no, I'll tell you when we swap, and that, it doesn't
But that's
quite
where the
add up.
commentary team
Yeah.
comes into the picture,
Yeah,
isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah. But I can
That's
see
my-
why he would be
It
slightly
could be the
annoyed at
case.
FOM.
Yeah, because apparently on F1 TV that didn't happen.
Okay.
They didn't really pick up on it. And look, it can happen. You can the commentary team cannot focus on each and every team radio. Even we can't.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And we are not really doing the commentary stuff. And it can be tough because they have a lot of things that they have to take care of. They
Yeah.
usually are going off what they are seeing and taking notes through that. But F1 TV is like 4 or 5% of the global audience. That's it.
Yeah, yeah.
Not more than that. That's basically nothing. Most of them, they were told what happened. So why are you making such a big issue out of it? Even though the issue should be that how did you fuck up so bad? But yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. This just I'm just not surprised by Ferrari anymore. Like, this is just what happens every season since 2007. Like, in reality, I say since 2007. 2007 was not to bash Kimi Räikkönen, because Kimi Räikkönen, we're both big fans of. We love him here, but that title was very much down to McLaren fucking up the whole season. Let's be
Yeah.
honest here.
Yeah,
So, like, in reality, Ferrari haven't
McLaren
done
did a Ferrari
yeah. So
while making the car and while
it's been since what, 2006 now, like, that realistically Ferrari has entered every single season as like, this could be our year, and it's not, like, so 2007 by a fluke. 2008, I mean, again, like, Massa probably shouldn't have been in that fight, but they also lost that one too. So, like, I don't know, it just yeah, I'm just not surprised by Ferrari anymore, and it just goes back to like why I was so laughing so vigorously last year, and people on this podcast in the comments were like, "You just hate Lewis," and it's like, no, I've just watched Ferrari for long enough to know that you should not be getting excited about Lewis going to Ferrari. Like,
Yeah,
he's
but
at
what's-
Mercedes. They're a very capable team that just has not got on top of the car, but Ferrari is a very uncapable team that happens to have a fast car. They're an incompetent team that happens to have a fast car right now. And even if they had even if I think Ferrari had the 2023 Red Bull, I think they would lose the championship somehow. Like, that's how incompetent I think they are. And I
They'll
don't
find
know
a
how to
way.
fix that.
They'll find a way to
They'll put wets on it in every race.
Yeah.
Like, they're just useless.
just for the heck of it.
Yeah, I just don't know.
Yeah. By the way, a detail that probably has escaped a lot of people. There are two teams that are in favor of sticking with these regulations and waiting for the
Ferrari is one of
V10s.
them. Yeah.
And Red Bull. So,
No, Red Bull is against it, right?
Ferrari and Red Bull, they are the two teams.
But Red Bull, Horner said he was against it. Right
did they
now.
tell? Okay, so apparently the race was the one that reported it, and they had two names.
I think
So
from what my understanding of it is that Ferrari and Red Bull like the idea, but the difference is that Red Bull are happy to do it for like 2028 or 2029,
yeah.
but they're not happy to do it straight away. Whereas Ferrari was actually all in on scrapping 2026 completely. That was the
Oh,
difference. So
okay.
there was this is so. Let's talk about this whole situation real quick, well, because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
The thing for me that stood out is I've been kind of bipolar on this, where sometimes I'm like 2026 could be really good, and other times I'm like this is going to be the worst thing to ever happen to Formula One.
Yeah.
I'm very worried now because some of the things that I've heard when I dug into this, and I think the race touched on it, is that apparently over the last 12 months, there has been talk, serious talk by the FIA and F1 about just scrapping the 2026 engine rules completely, like not even starting them.
Yeah.
And why that's so concerning is that obviously means they're like, yeah, this is going to be a shit regulation set.
Yeah.
Like, there's no other reason to do that. But apparently, Red Bull basically said no because they've obviously just tooled up for this
Invested a lot.
yeah, and they've tooled up for this exact regulation set, and for
Yeah, yeah.
them to like tool up for V8s would be harder. Whereas like Mercedes and Ferrari obviously have access to a lot of like V8 technology, V10 technology. It would be much easier for them to do it. And Audi obviously has said flat out no because they've just spent so much money specifically on this engine.
And Honda
So
as well.
yeah, again, I think Honda were less so because they can like work on. But again, like I think Honda and Audi have kind of said for 2030 yes, but for 26 or 28 no. Whereas Red Bull has said no for 26, but yes for 28, and Ferrari has basically said, yeah, we'll keep these engines now. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. So, oh,
Yeah,
it's a
let's jump to that
strange one.
anyways. I mean Ferrari, we've shat on Ferrari a lot. By the way, no
Yeah,
Lewis Hamilton bashing this time around.
we'll come
He did a
back.
good job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we'll come back to China because there are other storylines. But
Yeah, yeah.
let's talk about
Let's
this
dig into it.
quick.
First of all, uh, why why do you think they're doing this?
I just think it's a case of like they've built a really shit engine specification, like really bad in terms of going like I released a video about this literally this morning, I think, and I was saying like this is what I've been warning about for literally 3 years when they started this whole thing, or started building this up. I was talking about it and saying like we cannot do this. We cannot build an entire regulation set purely just to get Volkswagen into the sport, right? Like it was to get manufacturers in general into the sport, but it was mainly Volkswagen that they wanted. Like they were the ones really pushing, like, we want something that works with our road cars, and a really electrified engine will work for us.
Yeah.
And then they touted it as like, look, Honda's back, so it must be right. And like, oh, like brilliant. And it's like, no, that's bullshit. Honda were coming back regardless. They came back
No, no, no.
because
Honda wasn't.
they
Honda
came.
made it a point that they will, when the 2026 engine regulations they got ratified. That was the time
Yeah,
Honda
but
committed to
but
2026.
if you had said V8s with slight hybrids or V8s with sustainable fuel for 2026, I think they're still coming back. I think
No,
that was more
they're not.
about
They're
more
not.
about the regulation change that
Electric.
was.
Their
Yeah.
problem is electric, and that's going to be the case. I'm not entirely sure how the global ecosystem changes when it comes to electric in the future, but think I think the whole world is hinging on what's going to happen in the next couple of years, and that's why Formula One and FIA have been forced to take a step back.
Yeah.
Because when they took a call with the whole hybrid thing and going 50% electric, 50% is huge, by the way, very very quite
Massive. Yeah,
clearly.
yeah.
Yeah, when they took this call at that point in time in 2022 2021, there was an expectation that that the technology was going to
Get better.
mature much faster,
Yeah.
and that has not happened.
Yeah.
And that's why they are in a bit of a in a bit of a pickle, because there is a reality where, and I think Max touched on it last season, and the reality is that they might be going to races where they're just, you cannot harvest energy anymore, and you are just after a certain point on the long straight at Monza, you're just lifting off, cause that's it.
Yeah.
There's no power.
Yeah.
And that is a concern because that is, first of all, that's not a good look for Formula One, which is supposed to be, it's supposed to be the epitome of motorsports,
It's the
right?
pinnacle of
You can't
motorsports. Yeah.
precisely, and you cannot
Yeah.
make it a joke, which it
Well,
would be if something like this is going to happen.
I just look. This is the thing I warned about though. Is just if you put your whole focus on let's try and get manufacturers in, you build a whole regulation set just to get fucking manufacturers in. I was really concerned about this for two reasons. My bigger concern wasn't even the engines at the time. It was just that if we get any sort of economic downturn, which we very much could because of how much inflation was rising, all these non F1 topics, you know, the first ones to go are manufacturers. Like McLaren is a racing team, right? So to sell cars, they need a racing team. So they're not going anywhere, right? Ferrari is a racing team first, right? They're not as much anymore, but their whole image is built.
What are you talking about? Le
But you know what I
Mans,
mean?
this is
Their
it.
whole image is built about being a racing team. So even though they're more of a production company now than they were in the past, like in the past it was racing first, then cars. Their company is now cars, then racing, right? But
Sort of, yeah.
yeah, but they, you know, if they lose the F1 team tomorrow, that's going to make a big hit to their car sales because that's a big part of their car sales. Their Ferrari, right? Red Bull is an energy drinks company, but it's basically a racing team now to the point where it is just a racing team. You know, Williams is just a racing team. You know, these guys will stick around when a recession hits because this is their like entire business model, right?
Yeah.
If there's a recession tomorrow and Audi stops selling some cars, some subcompact cars, and they need to make up a $600 million deficit, do you think they're really going to go, oh, keep that F1 team? Not like, no, they're gone immediately. Honda, gone immediately. Cadillac, gone immediately. Like all these big brands, gone immediately. Right?
I'll tell you right now.
Well, Cadillac will be Andretti, so they'll stick around, but they won't, you know, it'll be a different deal.
None of these teams would be gone for a very, very simple reason. It's a 300 million capex, and that is nothing unless you have a 2007 level of recession. Where, by the way, where these companies are close to collapsing.
But
because
I
if they're
mean,
not close to collapsing,
sure, but
just a reminder, 100 million was given by Honda even when they left the sport.
Sure.
They gave it to Braun to run the team.
Yeah.
For operations.
Yeah.
Right now we are running at 300 million, and even if you take inflation into consideration, that 100 million would be worth much more than what we are worth right now.
Sure. But my point is boards don't think like that. They think very, very
I agree.
You know, they think very short term. So 300 million might not be nothing, but if they're thinking 300 million off the books for the next 3 months, like that's what it looks like on their books. We've cut 300 million in spending, so let's get rid of it. So the boards don't give a shit about F1, like, you know, so...
I'm going to... Sorry, I'm butting in.
Fucking economist here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My MBA degree keeps speaking up. It's basically an SKU that will be a profit making right now. The biggest problem that Formula One has had I'll fucking kill your mic. What's going on with it? Why is it? It's
already
it's not working.
There we go.
Yeah, now it is.
It's I think the cable, because it seems to like drop, and I'll get a new. I'll order a new cable.
Yeah.
I keep saying I'll order a new cable, and I still haven't. I'm just lazy.
Yeah, I keep saying I'll get back my 6-pack, but I still don't. I'm lazy. So, that's part of life. Again, the reason why Formula One has been, and again, this was something that actually Chase Carey talked about. It's very interesting because Formula One has changed its model, and that has helped. Again, it has not helped the employees. It has not helped. It's not made Formula One a great place to work because the salaries suck on a very, very basic level. But in terms of it being a profit-making business, it's a fucking huge
but you need to bear in mind, like, that's great at the minute, but if there's a recession, it's not only the amount they put in, it's also the amount that F1 makes. Like, attendance goes down, so the share price, like the payouts go down. Sponsorships become harder to get, you know, like all the people stop watching because they can't pay for subscriptions. Like all these things go down and immediately they're gone. And just my key point is just like, if a team needs to leave during a recession, it's going to be a manufacturer. It's not going to be a Williams, for example. Williams are going to do 100%. Everything they can to stay in the sport because their entire business is just racing, you know? So That was my
Technology
concern.
primarily, right?
Yeah,
Williams
yeah.
technology is
But it's
what
built
you
around that racing team.
exactly.
So
They take these technologies and sell it specifically.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that's the whole point. Is like, and then to build something just to get one. They essentially just made all of these compromises just to get Volkswagen in, and it's backfiring now. And I don't get, like, sure, Honda came back,
So
but
are you
Renault
sure
got.
it is because of just Volkswagen or just that there was this perception a few years back that the future is electric and they
There
thought that
was,
maybe that is the next you can
sure,
say
there was that, but then, like, in reality, they could have easily pushed that off to 2030. The big push to kind of
I
ramp
agree with you on
everything up.
that. Yeah,
Like
because
the
50%
push
seems
for it.
very huge.
Yeah, and it was huge at the time. And like I just feel like the big push on it was, okay, like, we want to do this now, and Volkswagen will come in for 2026, and we don't want to say no 2030. Like that was basically from what like, remember how annoyed they were when Red Bull fucked up the Porsche deal, because they thought they were getting 2 Volkswagen group members in, not just one.
Yeah.
So like, they just made so many compromises. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, it's going to be V10s or V8s that they're talking about at the minute. I hope it
Okay,
happens, but
for 2028 you're saying, right?
they're saying 29 or 2030. They apparently, the FIA and F1
2028,
started
right?
pushing
They're
for
saying
2028. They're pushing for 2028, but the teams are kind of leveling onto 29, 2030 makes more sense.
So what's going to happen in the meantime?
They're going to have to run these 2026 engines, because the only team that's willing to scrap that and just stay with the current engines is Ferrari. No one else is willing to do
Mercedes.
that. And maybe
Mercedes is
Mercedes
ambiguous.
as well, yeah.
Mercedes said that it's willing to table what's on. Look, Toto Wolff is a businessman, and I think there are two aspects to it. The one is that since there are teams that are going to lose a lot, now we are at a stage where FOM has to make a call that is it worth letting an Audi go and letting a Saber, for instance, stay with the whole bunch, or maybe turning it into high tech or something. Is it worth doing that, or is it worth going through the pain of 2026, 2027, 2028, where first of all, since these teams know that there will be a change in regulation soon, they won't be willing to invest too much in the power units, and we are going to see pretty much one-sided dominant run in 2026, 7, 8, and the show is not going to be good. Are they willing to do that? Or are they willing to just take the pain that, okay, Audi, you do not want to be the part of the whole thing. Okay, you can go.
Yeah, the
Keep
team will sell
everything.
pretty easily anyway. Like, someone will buy
Yeah,
that team.
100%.
Yeah.
If Audi goes, if Audi is not willing to stay, look, there will be other takers. Hyundai has already been talking.
If
So
that does happen, Andretti is going to be the most pissed off man in the world.
he already is, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
Hyundai, for example, would just buy it over and use someone else's
yeah,
power unit in the
100%.
meantime.
And there have been a lot of conversations already. Maybe Toyota might buy the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right. So the point is that if they are willing to take the pain,
Aston Martin could
That-
buy it as a B team, to be honest. Like, Stroll has that much
yeah.
money. You know.
yeah, again, there are a lot of prospects.
I will
and
buy a
we
team
cannot-
to ensure that we can plan for Lance Stroll to always have a seat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My point being that once you have all of these things in place, either you take the pain of maybe having 3 shitty seasons, which I don't think FOM is willing to do, or on the other hand, take the punt. And the point is that since these discussions have come out in the open, I have not heard a single word from Stefano Domenicali, and I think that is the most crucial
Well, I
person.
mean, you've got to keep in mind that it's obviously going to be FOM that's going to make the biggest loss here. I mean, the FIA will make a loss, but it's FOM that make a bigger loss if they fuck up these regulations. You know.
It's entirely on FOM.
Yeah.
They lose. They take the chunk of money, and if that
at the
is-
end of the day, like, the Concord Agreement is updated every 4 or 6 years. I can't remember.
it just got updated. It tends to be for a regulation set.
Yeah. So
for the regulation
2017
set-
to 22, right, and then, or to 21. And then
21.
yeah,
21.
and then 21 to 25. Yeah. So
The
like,
recent one also just got
so the
ratified.
way that works is basically the FOM FIA, as far as I'm aware, get a set fee every year that then changes every Concord agreement depending on how well the sport's doing.
That it's basically a piece of the slice, piece of the
Yeah,
slice,
but
amazing
I
slice
don't
of the
think it's a
pie.
percentage. I think it's like a set fee, but they change the fee depending on how the sport is doing.
No,
Basically,
it's a set, it's a slice
is it a
of the
percentage?
entire
Is it?
revenue. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
The 1981. This is why I get confused, and I know we don't technically have access to the agreement. I think we have access to like a 1997 agreement, right? That leaked
No,
or something.
2009. The one from the Braun documentary. That's where I first saw the whole
So
thing.
yeah, so it leaked a couple of times, didn't it? So that's how we kind of know. I know the original 1981 one was just a fee every year.
Yeah.
So yeah, so they've obviously changed that at some point. Yeah, but yeah, this is going to hurt FOM way more than it hurts FIA. You know?
And I think if it's come out in the open right now and Domenicali is not saying anything, he's in the background and he's talking to everyone.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's
yeah.
safe to say that he's trying to strike a deal with each and every team, mostly Audi, because losing Audi at this stage, it hurts the image that Formula One has, to
The
be
thing is,
honest.
as well, like you'd almost think that like Audi might be kind of hoping they pull the trigger on this because this might be their way to save face, if I'm honest. Because like Sauber's been dog shit for the past 3 years, and
It will be worse.
Audi have completely fucked up this entire situation.
Yeah.
And they also don't seem completely content on their engine. Like they don't seem like they're like we have the best engine and we're ready to destroy everyone. So this
Let's
could
be
be a way
realistic. That's
for
not going to be the case, right?
it could be a way for Audi to go like, no, they fucked us, we're leaving. You know, as opposed to we want to
And there
keep
have been
going.
far too many times where it seems that Audi has cold feet anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. The thing is though, like I mean, I just don't see it happen. I can see it happening for 2028 if that happens and Audi leaves, and that is ideal for like Cadillac who want to start building an engine. I don't think it for everyone talking about this. I don't see it being V10s. I've talked to everyone that I know and like around, and most of them seem to agree with me that surely V8s make more sense, and that's kind of some of the conversation because V8 has a lot more crossover with more of the manufacturers in the sport, and not only that, it has more crossover with other sports that the teams want to get
It
involved
won't be a
in or are.
naturally aspirated V8 anyways. It will be a hybrid of some sort
Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
obvious reasons because again, it is you have to keep one thing in mind that even if Formula One takes a step back from what it is trying to achieve right now, Formula One will always be at the forefront of car technology.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
and the forefront of car technology will have a part of hybrid and
But it just
electric.
it makes
Just
perfect
obviously.
sense to have like you could have the same amount of hybrid energy that you have in the cars right now from this. You could put a sustainable V8 into the car, and
Yeah.
you could basically then say like, well, even you could reduce the hybrid a slight amount or the battery a slight amount, maybe or something like that. The point is, you
Maybe,
could
yeah.
pull in a V8, which is like
The
you could
bigger
get-
thing is by 2028, the technology would have matured to such an extent that the battery sizes would not be this huge, which has been the biggest issue for
But you could
Formula
also
One.
bring in a V8, make it high revving, get rid of the turbo, and put
Yeah.
a hybrid, a smaller hybrid in, right? With sustainable fuels that would give you the advantage of not only being kind of, all right, look, it's a V8, so it's closer to like Cadillac uses a lot of V8s, Ferrari use a lot of V8s now, Audi, if they stick around, use a lot of V8s. Red Bull could use those V8s then in other racing series that use V8s in America, for example, and in different places there are some V8 engine. I can't remember off the
Red
top of my
Bulls
head. what they are.
primarily will be the technology bit.
Yeah,
The problem for look, the
but Red Bull
problem will
Red Bull
come down
could build
to
V8 road production cars like McLaren do. McLaren use a lot of V8s in their
Probably,
cars.
yeah.
You know, like basically every single manufacturer use V8s in their road cars more than they use V10s anyway. So
Yeah.
V8 just makes more sense. Like it's kind of that middle ground. So I could see it being V8s. The beauty of that would be that I think it would also make the cars smaller because you could figure a way around that.
Good, yeah, but again, it's a shitty situation to be honest, and I think it won't take. I think by the end of which month are we in? We are in March, right? So by the end of April or maybe mid-May, I think we'll know the fate.
It's going to be a
going to be
shit
one
show
way or the
regardless, though, right?
Yeah, but that's
Because
Formula One, right?
because
Great. Do it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like you've made a good point here because I wasn't thinking about one of the points you made, which was like that hadn't crossed my mind that like you'll just have people who'll go into 2026 and just give up if their engine's no good for 2 years. Like, I hadn't thought about that even like when I was thinking it out. So like, Jesus, yeah,
Because what's the point? 3 years is not a, you can say it's not a big enough, what should we call it? It's not a big enough commitment to put your resources into something. And it's as simple as that. And it does not make any sense whatsoever that you have a regulations where you're building new engines for only 3 seasons.
because you
That
would
kind
think.
of money is it's a waste of time for everyone, to be honest.
Yeah, because you would think like the idea with the 2026 regs would be to run until at least like 2032, 2033.
Exactly.
Obviously with some tweaks. The exact same way the last regulation set worked where you had, 2014 to 2026. And the only difference was like in 22, they made some changes to E10 and like some subtle tweaks to the engine. You would think it would be the same, right? We do 26 and then the 2030 regulation is like an alteration of the current car engine, but yeah, if they do 26 to 28 and then we're going to V8s, no one's going to develop a V6
What's
for
the
those.
point?
You wouldn't.
What's the
like,
point?
Yeah, you're just going to maintain it. Like, you're not going to do anything else. So, yeah, it's going to be a shit show, isn't it?
Exactly.
Honestly, if they're going to change it for 2028, like even 2029, like it doesn't need, like even 2029, they might as well just go, guys, look, we just need to pull the plug now. Like, that's the better way to do it. And just
doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
Fuck Audi, fuck Red Bull. Sorry, but just, we're doing this. Red Bull will stick around anyway. They're not going to leave. And if Audi leaves, someone else will buy the team.
What's going to happen is they're going to make an arrangement where Honda, since it is only going to supply Aston Martin next season, it can maybe supply another team that will be Red Bull.
Yeah,
it's not a big deal because again, use the same engines. I think we are slowly reaching a point where things are converging in Formula One, and the biggest differentiator tends to be the power unit. You're not going to convince teams that okay, the amount of money you're putting into something like this, it's going to be only for a 3-year project. It makes zero sense. And 100% they are going to change in 2028. Everyone knows that by now. Or even worst case scenario by 2030. That's still a 4 or 5 year thing. It's not a sensible way to go about anything.
They could have just done the best thing, which was like they could have just kept a version of this current power unit, made it 100% sustainable, right? Which is possible now. And said, right, 100% sustainable. We'll keep the same percentage of power from hybrid, but that means we can also start making the batteries smaller, which means for 2026, we can make the cars 10% smaller. We can bring in some active aero and figure out things for following.
I know what you mean, but the problem is there are a couple of issues with that. The first
the FIA
is that
being incompetent is one of them, obviously.
Yeah, that is one of them. The second is that the focus was on road relevance. That's where the whole thing kind of got fucked over.
I really hate that statement in Formula One, the road relevance thing.
Yeah, but you have to think that the automobile, look, there are more than 100, 200
but my point
automotive giants in the world.
My point is that
only 5 or 6 end up in Formula One.
Yeah, I talked about this in the video I released today, though, which is road relevance can mean so many things, and for it to be 50% battery powered is not one of them. Like, because if you're like, oh, we need to have a 50% hybrid power unit with a V6, right? And they're like, because it's road relevant. And it's like, no. Any of those technologies could have been used at a different percentage or at a different amount and still been road relevant.
Why it is 50% is it means that people are going to invest a lot in the electric bit because the IC engine is already saturated.
Yeah.
And since almost all automotive giants have been working very hard on the electrical bit, electrical cars and everything, and there are literal mandates across the world. Even now, starting in India as well, almost made me stop buying my new car. So, yeah, literally, this nonsense is now in India too.
You're right. We should burn more Teslas. That's what we should do.
I mean, yeah, we should. I mean, fuck Elon Musk.
Don't burn. Yeah. That's not how you protest things. Sorry.
No, but fuck Elon Musk.
Sure. You can say.
I'm not saying burn Elon Musk, but
I do find it funny though that all these people that are like burning these Teslas about 4 years ago were environmentally friendly, and now they're going, no, fuck the environment.
I will not even get into the political
Yeah,
picture.
yeah,
Fuck that.
yeah. F1.
Yeah. Anyways,
Yeah.
it's just again. Anyways, the whole thing is the electric bit. Why that's there? Just to sum the whole thing up, it's because Honda, Audi, and other teams, even as recently as Suzuki. Suzuki is not in Formula One in MotoGP. The reason they are leaving and why they're extensively focusing on electric is they have been told that in the 5 to 6 year period, governments have brought in mandates that electric is the future.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
they know they are behind. BYD is kicking their ass. And
Yeah.
they have to focus on this. That's why to lure these people into the game, F1 try to do that.
Yeah.
That's a good thing or a bad thing. I think the jury is
It,
already out on it.
yeah, it's a bad thing. Simple as.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Bring Back
Formula One.
V10s is a
Moving back
great
to Formula One.
podcast by The Race. I'd just like to shout that out. Anyway, sorry.
Moving back to Formula One, and
China.
one reason why I might be a bit pissed that we move forward with these current regulations is we cannot overtake in these in these cars anymore. We just cannot, and it pissed me off so much because let's be honest, Ferrari had the second fastest car. I mean, Leclerc had the second fastest car in the Chinese Grand Prix, but you cannot pull off overtakes. The tires, I'm pretty sure if those tires they just put on the McLaren and that car drove from Shanghai to Suzuka, the tires would still be working fine. I mean, there was literally no degradation. In the
Yeah.
end, almost every driver from P1 to P10, the last lap that they did, that was their
It seemed like we
personal
got
best.
that weird normal thing where there's like some graining and then they can just drive through it and continue.
Yeah,
Like, so
it's
everything
the-
seems really bad at the start, and then after a while, it's like, oh, actually, it's fine. You know, we
yeah,
can keep going.
it's and you have to ask Pirelli what the fuck is it doing? I mean, it's
They're being
pure
French, aren't they?
incompetent job. It's not French, it's Italian. Jesus.
Oh, Jesus, it's even worse. I forgot. Yeah, it's Italian. Oh, they can't do
God.
anything.
Yeah. And
There's two teams from Italy that drove this
both
weekend.
suck at quality and both suck at strategy.
Fucked up their entire weekend. And yet, for some reason, we're allowing the Italians to make the tires. Like, what are we doing here? Bring back Bridgestone, the French.
Triple win.
Because the French
Jesus
will...
Christ. Bridgestone is Japanese. Michelin is French.
Michelin, that's who I'm thinking of. Sorry. Right. Well, we can do this one of three ways. We can do the Italian one, which is Pirelli, which means that stereotypically it just won't know what it's doing. Sometimes it'll be good, sometimes it'll be bad, and there'll be no way to figure out which or why. You can bring in Bridgestone, which is Japanese. Am I getting this right?
Yeah.
Which will work
Finally.
perfectly and do exactly what it needs to. So bring in Bridgestone, right? Or you can bring in Michelin if you want to fuck up everything, because they'll just surrender halfway through every race because they're French, and that's what the French do: surrender.
Yeah, this was a World War joke if a few people did not understand. So, yeah.
Does that mean Bridgestones will kamikaze at certain tracks? Anyway, sorry. Continue.
Great
Right.
job. Great
Yeah,
job.
thanks.
Yeah. Dude, if we cannot overtake, what are we going to do with these cars? The tires, they last forever. And the problem is, I don't understand how we've reached a point in Formula One where a qualifying tire cannot be used in the race, the soft tire. And then we have a medium tire that will last for 10 laps, and then you have a hard which does not degrade.
Well, if we're keeping the regulations for next year, we're keeping the 2026 regulations just with the same engine, though. So we're changing the car regardless.
No.
So,
No.
yeah. Obviously.
These regulations stay the same.
Oh, you mean like aerodynamics and everything?
Everything stays the same.
Oh, well, I think that would be then you would have to just come up with a way to get rid of, like, to fix the dirty air problem that we have once again.
Yeah, how do you do that then?
Engineers,
Cut the
smart
wings off.
people.
Cut
Yeah,
the
there's
wings
a
off.
lot of smart people in Formula One. They can figure this
Yeah.
out.
I mean, yeah, let's just touch on it, why this whole thing happened. By the way, so my nephew is slowly getting into Formula One and he's a huge fan. And I specifically told him that if you want to watch Formula One and racing, 2022 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. I think that's probably the best example of wheel-to-wheel racing in Formula
Yeah.
One that I have seen ever. And I've been following the sport for close to 2 decades now, more than 2 decades.
Yeah.
We had a brilliant regulations in 2022 and we fucked it up. And how did we fuck it up? Because Mercedes was the first team that introduced an additional element on the front wing and then that was lobbied by the FIA to the FIA that we needed because otherwise Red Bull is going to win every race. Red Bull still went on to win every race, but we
Yeah.
ended up with cars that
That
are
can't
now,
follow.
yeah,
Yeah. Like if they kept these regulations, they would have to. That's the only way to
this
make
is worse.
things.
This is worse than 2021, by the way. They just couldn't do
I
anything.
still don't think it's as bad as 2021, because in 2021 they couldn't follow at all after like 3 laps. So this, like, they overheated immediately after like 3 laps. So this is bad, but it's not quite at that level.
Yeah.
Like 2021 was like, apart from the Lewis and Verstappen thing that was going on, 2021 the racing was shit, and like even when Hamilton and Verstappen were racing, where in the races where they were chasing each other, it was literally like as soon as they got within kind of the range where they could fight, they had 3 or 4 laps to
that's it,
overtake,
yeah.
and then that was it. Like, so everyone has these rose tinted glasses of, oh, the racing was amazing. It's like, well, not really. Like, go and look at it again. It was great
Yeah.
for a few laps, and then that was it. Like,
Yeah. Actually, yeah, what pissed me off was almost every lap you had Leclerc, who was, 9 tenths behind George at the start of the straight. And by the end of the straight with DRS, he would gain just 2 tenths. And like, what's the point then? That's a
I
1
think-
kilometer long straight, and you have DRS, and you are still not closing the gap.
Yeah.
There's something seriously wrong.
So look, I think first things first. I think the DRS clearly just isn't that effective in these. Like the problem with DRS, honestly, is, and I've harped on about this a lot. Like, I think it's time to just like start getting rid of DRS, because realistically, the problem with DRS is it's only really good when you have a massive deficit between one car to the other that you can make up for, right? Because as soon as the cars are all really close to one another, the DRS offset just isn't that big of a differentiator, so it doesn't make a huge difference in the track, right? So the real situation that you need to fix is you need to have more selections in tires that are like a wider range of fast to degrading, right? Because then you can have a situation where, right, it's really difficult to overtake on track, but if I put on these super soft tires that are 2 seconds a lap faster, I can chase, but then I'm going to have to pit again. And you start to get a wider variety in strategy.
Yeah.
So these tires made sense when like there was a huge difference between the cars. But as soon as they start getting
Not
close...
only that, if you remember, I think it was in China only in 2018, where was it 2018 when there was a late race safety car and Daniel won. And even in that race, what was the key differentiator? The leaders, they stuck with the tires that they had.
Yeah.
It was hard tires, but it was around 10 laps older. And you had Daniel and Max, they pitted. They were P5, P6, and they used medium or soft as one of them. But the tire had enough durability to go through a stint. Right now, we've reached a point where the hard tire is the only one that can last a stint. Medium tire sucks ass, and the soft tire, it lasts 1 lap.
Yeah.
We've gone so extreme in these things. It's illogical.
I just think what they should do, honestly, I think the quickest and easiest solution to this is we've got C1 to C6 now, right? It's not C1 to C5 anymore. I think it's 6 tires, right?
Yeah.
I think they should just stop going and mandating like these are the 3 tires for the weekend. They should just go, right, you've got access to C1 to C6. Make some sort of like way to like, so they don't have loads of them, but like make that way.
I know what you mean.
And you can still do the thing for the casual audience where you're like, there's 2 soft tires, 2 medium tires, and 2 hard tires. And the really fucking like
I'll tell you
in-depth
what the
fans
biggest
like
problem
us
is
can
with
say,
with your plan.
but my point is like the really in-depth fans like us can go, okay, so he was on the C5 soft and he was on the C6 soft. And the normal fans will just be like, he's on a soft, he's on a medium, he's on a hard. Like, it's fine. Like you can leave it as is.
Or even just have the names different, right? The problem
I think the confusion is if you have super soft, ultraviolet soft, wank hard, super medium, it starts getting very confusing. Like I just think
There's a
have
problem with all
soft,
of
medium,
it,
and
by
hard,
the way.
and just keep the C1, C2, because me and you will go, oh, he was on the C6 soft. Whereas a normal fan's like, oh, he's on soft tires. Like he doesn't need to know because there's going to be so little difference between a C6 and C5. For the teams, it might be a big difference, but so little difference in reality for the
I'll
viewer.
tell you what the problem is with the whole thing. The problem was initially, if you remember, this was actually the proposal, but Pirelli whined and cried like anything
Tell
that
them to
in
fuck
terms
off
of
then.
it, apparently there's an issue. Apparently Pirelli has also been now signed with MotoGP, and now Pirelli will be the official tire supplier in MotoGP. And by the way, Liberty is taking over MotoGP. So there is no conflict of interest anywhere.
For anyone who
It's
doesn't speak Indian, that was Liberty. Uh, sorry, couldn't help it.
yeah.
Welcome to Liberty.
Wow. I mean, who has that accent?
If you're not offended, don't
It's
subscribe.
usually all of the Indians in America doesn't have this accent. Anyways, the whole point is that you have to hold Pirelli accountable, and I don't think anyone does. This should be roasted on coals for the kind of shitty job that they've done with the tires. I don't think the
We
last
need to. I think we need some competition back in. Like there was talk of bringing, was it Michelin or
it's
Bridgestone back
problem.
in?
No, again, same problem. Cost. Cost. That's the whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
And you can't build good tires. These tires, they last an eternity until they're pushed. Once they're
Yeah.
pushed, they'll just cry and just
I just think
overheat or whatever.
I just think bring Bridgestone back in because, like, if anyone can fix this problem, it's the Japanese. They're very efficient. Is that racist? It's positive racism, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's get back to the Chinese Grand Prix.
Let's get back to
Chinese, right?
China. Yeah,
Yeah.
racist. Anyway.
What have we talked about until now?
Oh,
So yeah, McLaren
let me
and
pull up-
Ferrari. Red Bull.
Let
Red
me pull
Bull,
up
Red
that
Bull.
list that you so carefully put together every week.
Yeah.
Yeah, Red Bull, Max. Oh,
Red Bull.
Jesus. Yeah. Whoa.
Oh, okay. So first of all, one question. And apparently a lot of people think that it. Let's see what your answer is. So Max Verstappen in a racing bull, will he go faster than he does in the Red Bull?
No. People don't understand
Explain
F1
why.
who say this. Look, the reason that the Racing Bull seems easier to drive and is qualifying real well is that the balance is very, very good and they're able to get it to the front of the midfield, basically, with where it is. It's a good, capable car that Jody Egginton, who's a good, capable midfield technical director, was able to kind of pull to there. The problem is it's the exact same as the Red Bull in one way, which is, sure.
The ass.
The point is, like, they're saying, like, oh, you should just go and do in the Racing Bull. It's like, yeah, sure. If you want him to finish P7 every race, no problem. Do that. Put him in the Racing Bull. The Racing Bull will be easier to drive, but it will also finish P7. You could do the exact same thing in the Red Bull. Like, if you just open up the balance range in the Red Bull, Max will find it much easier to drive and the tires will be brilliant, but he will also be finishing P7. Like, this is what people don't seem to understand. They're like, oh, well, look, the Racing Bull's in P7, so Max will be able to pull that up to P2. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. Max can only drive the fucking car as fast as the car will go. And that Racing Bull is able and capable of like a P7, P6 on a good weekend, especially when Ferrari and McLaren or Ferrari and Mercedes fuck up. But like in reality, that car is capable of a P6, which means if you put Max in it, he will get a P6. It's not like Max can just add 5/10 to a car. Like, I praise Max constantly. He's spectacular. But the reason that the Red Bull is finishing, say, P2 is because the Red Bull is capable of a P2 and Max can extract every bit of performance out of it. That's as simple as that. If Max goes to a Racing Bull, he will feel more comfortable and he'll have a nice, easy, winding Sunday drive, but he'll finish P5 or P6. Like, that's as fast as that car is. And that is, in reality, it's a P9 if the other drivers completely deliver on what the car can do. So this whole logic that, like, oh, well, you know, the Red Bull is only getting to P2 because Max is driving it. There is some truth to that, but the point to that is not that the Red Bull can't get a P2. It's that the Red Bull can only get a P2 with Max driving it because he is the only one who's able to extract the performance. That's where Max should get the credit. But you also can't go, oh, well, that car is only a P9 car. It's just, no. It's a P2 car if Max is driving it. That if they open the balance up, it's a P6. That's, you know, where it's at. And the Racing Bull is in that logic. So, yeah, it's just a weird misunderstanding that I think people have, that they don't seem to think that physics applies. Like, it's not like Max is sitting in the car and then going, right, I'll move the air around myself. It's like, no. Like, the car can only drive as fast as the fucking car can drive. Like, I'm sorry, people don't seem to... Like, Schumacher... If you put Schumacher in a Haas, for example, back into the 2000s, right? Like, I know Haas didn't exist, but My point is,
Some mediocre car.
if you
Yeah.
put Schumacher in a back, like in a Minardi, for example, he's not winning championships. Like that's not how it works. Like it's just Max is brilliant because he's driving a car that clearly is difficult to wrangle the performance out of, and he's doing it every weekend, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like give him credit for that, but don't pretend physics doesn't exist, you stupid bastards. Sorry. Anyway,
Exactly.
yeah.
And the whole point is Max is not driving the car Flintstone style, where he's basically just
Yeah.
that's the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And you have to understand this thing. It's just that the car at the end, okay, the car is hard to drive. That is one thing.
Definitely.
Second thing is
Very narrow performance window.
exactly. And on threads, actually, I explained this point because someone shared two screenshots. One was from Blake and one was from Dr. Obbs, where they said that the car is not built around Max Verstappen. Something like this does not exist. So apparently, the guy was a Max Verstappen fan, and he just jumped on it and said that, look, I've been trying to say that it's not a car built around Max Verstappen, and there are two experts saying this thing. And I specifically explained then okay, look, here's how it goes. There are two key characteristics of a car. The first is the peak performance. The second is how easily that peak performance can be accessed. Now, when it comes
Yes,
to Red Bull,
this is what I was trying to explain to someone before.
Exactly.
This is where it's not built around Max, but it is
Yeah.
built to where Max can
Only
go on.
Max
Go on
is-
anyway.
yeah.
But yeah.
Exactly.
I can explain this
So-
in simple terms afterwards, but go on anyway.
yeah. So now these are the two things. Now, when if you're comparing a Red Bull and a Racing Bull, when it comes to a peak performance, Red Bull has a higher peak performance. But when it comes to accessible performance, only Max can reach that accessible performance in a Red Bull, but nobody else can. So if you put a Yuki Tsunoda, Liam Lawson, Max Verstappen, and Isaac Hadjar in a Racing Bull, the gap might be a tenth, a couple of tenths, because the car is easier to drive.
Yep. Yeah.
Put all of them in a Red Bull, Max will be a second quicker than almost all of them.
Yeah. There.
Why? Great drivers make a difference in bad cars.
Yes. 100%.
And bad cars
Yeah.
means hard to drive. It does not mean a slow car.
Yeah. This is the accessible performance window is the perfect way to say it, right? So, like, we can jump back to even Alonso, 2004 or 2005, 2006, right?
12.
like
2012,
yeah, of course,
biggest
but,
example.
Sure, but like 2005, 2006. Do you remember how unique his driving style was, and everyone went on about it for years? They thought that they were like, that's just how he drives. No, that was how he could drive to extract the performance from that car, right? Which was brilliant. A similar thing has basically happened with the Red Bull. And Blake, I really like his content. Like, he's a good guy, and he's a performance engineer, so he knows what the fuck he's talking about. And he is right in saying that the car is not built around Max. It's a very specific thing that you just said there, which is what it is. It's not that they go, okay, how can we build a car that is perfect for Max's driving style? No, that's not what happens. What happens is Max sits in a driver in loop simulator, for example, right? The guys who are building the car basically go, okay, this is how we can get the most downforce out of this particular part. So a front wing, a rear wing, side, and they work it all together and they go, right, this is what the best numbers are with this in the wind tunnel. And then they go and apply that to the simulation times that Max has either put in on that unique upgrade or on, a particular lap that he's done or whatever.
Yeah.
And they map that over and go, did he go faster with this upgrade or slower with this upgrade, right? And essentially what happens there is you're just continually to dial in the fastest and fastest and fastest car around Max's lap time and around Max's telemetry, which means that it can keep going and keep going and keep going until we're like, okay, this is the fastest that the car will go with Max's telemetry and lap time on this driver in loop, right?
Yeah.
But then the problem with that is it accidentally almost, it's not accidental, but it like kind of almost tailors itself to Max's driving style then, because you're making the fastest car that Max can access, So it no longer matters. Like, you put Albon in the car and he just can't get anywhere near that time, because over time, the fastest and fastest and fastest until the peak of where Max can't drive it anymore. So that's what you're doing. You're basically making the fastest car that Max can drive and then hoping that someone else can drive that. Where Max deserves credit is Max can drive a incredibly sensitive and incredibly tricky car So like by going down that route, you're basically going, hey, like Albon, look, yeah, you can drive on this level, but we're going to keep developing it. Oh, Albon, sorry, you're gone now. Checo, oh, no, sorry, you were down here. You can't drive that anymore. So what's happening is you're just putting it closer and closer into this really tight window that perfectly aligns with Max's driving style. So it's not that you're building the car specifically for Max, it's that you're pushing the limits until Max breaks, not until anyone else breaks. So therefore, the car on its peak performance is exactly where Max's limit is. And that's a praise to Max. And they're right. That's why you just have to be careful with. I think people need to be careful with how they say that, because they're like, oh well, this engineer told me the car's not built around Max. It's like, yeah, that is technically true.
Yeah.
But it is also built to the point where its fastest point is also the limit of what Max can drive. So that's what we're aiming for.
Exactly.
And
the problem with this is, and how many times we've said that Max is kind of the best driver since Michael Schumacher.
Yeah, and we both agree with that. So none of this is to bash Max. It's just a reality of how this works.
Yeah, by the way, this was the same issue that Michael Schumacher had, because what he could do in a car during the Benetton days, nobody else could. And that was primarily the thing. And this happens with elite drivers.
Yeah.
The onus comes down to Red Bull to a certain extent, where they have to keep one thing in mind. Either if you are going to discard the second driver to such an extent that everything will be leaning towards a driver, then at that point in time, you just have to just remove the expectation from the second driver in any case, because they cannot keep up. Either you can follow a McLaren model where you try to build the best possible car, but that best possible car has a peak that is accessible by both the drivers. That is an ideal model. That is a model that I would say Mercedes had.
Yeah, you're compromising some of the performance.
Yes, you're compromising. But again,
if you want the absolute perfect performance, the ideal thing to do is to tailor it around your fastest driver. Like to keep pushing till he can go no faster.
It is, but tomorrow if Max Verstappen leaves,
I get what you're saying. I like 100%. I understand. My point is, I understand that completely. But if you wanted the ideal situation, you tailor it around your fastest driver and hope he never leaves, and hope that your second driver can drive almost as well as him in that car. And Red Bull have done that.
Someone like a Alonso or a Leclerc,
this is the thing,
or a Lewis. Because other than that, I don't think there's any other driver that could actually come close.
Red Bull have done this. They've done this thing of tailoring their car perfectly.
Yeah.
Like again, I don't want to say that because they haven't built it around Max. But my point is, again, like what I said earlier, they have gone down the route of pushing the limits until Max breaks. And
it's like this.
It's so hard for anyone to drive like him.
I'll make it even more simpler. It's basically they've built the fastest possible car that they think they can, and there's only Max that will actually survive at that particular level.
Yes.
If Max was not able to survive at that level, maybe Red Bull would be forced to take a different direction.
Well,
which they were last season.
Yeah,
when it became unbearable for Max.
Albon talked about this in that interview. Obviously, that's about the last regulation set, but he did talk about like basically they kept dialing it in to the point of like his sensitivities, and his sensitivities are so good that you can go to a crazy limit before it starts being like, okay, this is just going into the wall every time I push now. Like he can go that far, and anyone else who even tries to go near that limit. Like that's why you're getting drivers who are very competent being 4, 5, 6 tenths off him, because as soon as they start getting near the limit of that car, it's just too sensitive. They can't deal with it. It's too twitchy. It's too kind of like, it's like a bull ride that only Max can hold on to. Yeah. And Leclerc is the only driver I think, like you said, that maybe could have. There's probably a couple of other drivers maybe as well, but Leclerc is the prime candidate that I think could have kind of sat in the car alongside him.
Exactly. And you have to. And the thing is, Red Bull, we kind of used the example of Marc Marquez and Honda last time around as well. But I think that is the perfect example where you cannot continue going down this route where only a single driver can drive it. Look, if this car was winning championships and it was clearly the fastest, maybe Red Bull might survive with this theory or this entire philosophy. Right now they cannot. Seriously they're teetering close to a point where either Max breaks or you reach a point where it's like Max says, I'm out, I cannot do anything with this car, and Red Bull, at that very stage, they have a pretty much solid drivers, but who can't do shit with this car.
Yeah.
And that is where the problem is, and they have to realize it. And Honda continues to, push back on this, that we are building the car for the fastest driver. Again, you are,
Yeah.
but it's not a one driver team. The other driver is struggling, and other driver is not a mediocre driver. You have to understand this thing. Liam Lawson is not. Look, Liam Lawson is not a paid driver. He's earned his way to Formula One, and he's bloody good. Compared to Yuki Tsunoda, even if you want to say that, okay, Yuki Tsunoda is better than Liam Lawson, which a lot of people now apparently have woken up and said the same thing. When I was saying it last year, I got pushed back.
Recency bias in F1 is the only thing that
Just-
matters. Yeah.
I mean, let's do basic maths. It was Liam Lawson was around 7 tenths behind Max in China. Let's say Yuki is 2 tenths better. He would still be half a second behind. And half a second behind in Formula One in the current stage, you're not making Q2.
I think there's a bigger intangible problem with all of this as well, which is just the confidence in F1. And this is where, like, I think they should have signed a Sainz when they had the chance, or like you said, bring in Alonso in or someone like that, because, like, for example, Alonso's the perfect example. Not only can he drive a difficult car, Alonso also has an undying belief that he is the best driver on the grid, which means that if he's 6 races in and he's 5 tenths behind Max, he is going down every rabbit hole and being like, no, I am faster than that fucker. I'm going to get to the bottom of this. And he has that undying confidence that I'm the best. I will keep going. And Checo, I think, only lasted so long because he had confidence that I am a good driver, until eventually that confidence just fell up. It just shattered. Right. And we saw that last year. It just went. It was like, oh, right, I'm shit. Like, this is gone.
He can't do anything anymore, right?
So the problem that Red Bull have now is everyone's like, oh, we should just put Yuki in the car then. And I'm like, that's not going to fix anything, because Yuki's never been at another team, right? So Yuki has the confidence right now that he's better than Lawson. But what happens after 5 races of him going in and all of a sudden being 6 tenths off Max? Like, his confidence is going to shatter as well.
Leave 5 races aside. You have if apparently there are strong rumors that it is actually happening
from Japan.
Yeah, you want to put Yuki in front of his home crowd in a Red Bull without any preseason testing, and you want him to shine. And by the way, Red Bull still a bit of a pain when it comes to jumping the curbs. There are fuck ton of them in Japan.
My point on that though was more just like, if as soon as a driver loses their confidence, they start thinking while they're driving. And that is the worst thing that can happen to a driver. Like, as soon as they stop driving on instinct, obviously they learn and they think about things while they're practicing and all these things. But when it comes to just like extracting the best lap times, it needs to be on instinct. And like, going back to Alonso's the perfect example. We all know he drives with like 25% of his brain, and the other 75% is watching Lance Stroll on the big screen, like, in Miami
Cheering
that
him
time.
on.
Yeah. So like, we saw like Ricardo as a prime example of just McLaren just broke him. So even when he got back into like a car that was decently balanced that he could work with, he was still thinking too much the whole time to not be able to kind of get back to where he was.
Imagine Ricciardo right now, he'll be kicking himself because the current Racing Bull is so competitive, and the tin can that he drove last season. I mean, in this car, he could have done much better. The last year car was pathetic, to be honest.
The strategy would have still thrown him, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you could, but at least you could bank him on having at least some wherewithal to, tell them to just take a beat when it comes to that. But anyways, leaving him aside, I think it's right now, if Red Bull is looking at replacing Liam Lawson after 2 races, why? Because he qualified in P20. What if Yuki Tsunoda comes in and let's say give him 3 races, and in all 3 of them he's not making it out of Q1, then what are they going to do next? And they don't have an answer for it.
The thing is, they need to they really like
take the punt.
The other
Honestly,
thing is,
take
like,
the punt.
I did.
That's what they need to do.
I did mention last season that for that Red Bull team, they are going to need the most mentally strong person they have. And when Lawson was getting upset with Checo in Mexico, I remember pointing out, I was like, I don't know, like, Horner's going to look at that now and go, I'm not sure about this. And I think we're seeing already, like, just some of, like, it's not Lawson's fault. Obviously, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, you need a driver who comes in like an Alonso or like a Sainz that knows they are fucking good and knows it's the car. Because if you bring a Lawson in,
Red Bull missed the boat with Oscar.
yeah. Well, Helmut Marko did because Helmut Marko isn't actually good at picking drivers. He just kind of goes that one, like he's terrible. But yeah, he turned down Piastri, didn't he? He said Piastri wasn't good enough.
No, nothing like that. Oscar was part of Arden and he didn't graduate apparently
Yeah.
in the junior categories. So yeah, it didn't really happen on that front. It's right now. Look,
But Helmut has
Bull,
admitted he made a mistake with Oscar. He said that
he has.
Yeah.
Because I've seen Horner's interview where he said, okay, he wasn't picked. The other guy graduated who beat Oscar in the Arden days. So, anyways, the point is, if I'm Red Bull, I'm taking a punt on 2025 because let's be honest, Yuki is not the answer
No.
at this stage.
No.
You're not seeing any difference, and if you're going to set a precedence where you're going to fire Liam after 2 bad races for Yuki, and you'll be forced and basically pushed into a corner where you have to do the same thing. And then what? And then bring Isaac Hadjar for 2 races and then fire him, and then what? And then you bring back David Coulthard because that's the only option left in that case.
Yeah, because Ricardo is not even considering that now. No way. Like
He's
there's
done.
no. If they said to Ricardo now, look, we think you're fast enough. Can you jump in? He'll be like, no, not a hope. Like no way.
He's gone. He's selling wine and t-shirts, whatever he's doing right now.
Good for him. There's no way he wants to come back
exactly.
to this. The only person who may consider it, and even then I think it's a long shot, would be Alonso. And Alonso would probably go, can I get like a loan deal? Can Aston like loan me to you? Because I want to come back for the Newey car next year.
He might actually, I mean, he's
the only person, just because he's the only person I can think of in F1 that would undoubtedly, if you said like, can you beat Max in the same car, would be like, of course. Like he's the only person who would
Lewis.
go, 100%. Lewis maybe as well. Yeah.
Charles.
I don't know if Lewis would after last year though.
He would.
Yeah, he would still think that. Yeah.
That mentality never goes. I mean, even he's 50 and I mean he's got a bad back or something. He'll still say he'll beat the best.
But Alonso, would be like, I'll beat Max, no problem.
100%. You could, without a doubt.
You know that Alonso, if he was in this exact situation and the car, like he wasn't able to extract the performance from the car, he wouldn't be saying, I'm just slow. He'd be like, these guys are fucking with the car. Like, what have you done to my car?
100%. 100 without a doubt.
He would be in front of the media constantly be like, Horner put something in the car. Like, they're fucking it on me. Like, they're trying to make Max look good. That's what this is.
Yeah.
Like, he would be
exactly.
It would be amazing.
I mean, better content for us.
Yeah, and he would. You know what he would be doing? Actually, the same thing he did in 2007. He would be walking up, going, Horner, listen, I've got all those dirty texts and the real ones. I'm gonna put. If you don't give me a fucking car as good as him, they're going online.
Yeah.
The same thing he did to Ron Dennis.
Oh God, yeah.
You give me a good car, or I'm telling the FIA.
If you're Horner, what are you doing in this current situation?
If I'm Horner, honestly, I think there's only one solution, which is tailored honesty, which is, I think, to basically come out and say, look, you either have to say, like, we're just going to have to forget about the constructors and we're just going to put everything into Max, like, which is kind of what they're doing anyway. But you need to
leave the media bit aside, just in terms of the calls that they'll make with the drivers.
I'm keeping Lawson for at least 5 more races to see if something happens, because that's what I think is the only option, because I don't think Tsunoda is going to be much better, and I don't think there's anyone else that you can maybe grab across, like, unless you're willing to grab a Sainz and tell Jos Verstappen to go fuck himself, because Sainz would come running to a top team again in a second if he had the opportunity.
Already struggling at Williams.
That's a problem. Yeah, that is a problem. I don't think you're getting Alonso right now, because as much as he would back himself, he's also got a Newey car for next year. So does he really burn that bridge now?
No.
Leclerc, I'm hiring Leclerc. I'm giving him any amount of money. But the problem is, though, realistically, I think you just grin and bear it for the season and just see what happens, because honestly, no driver is coming in and getting close to Verstappen at the minute, I don't think, in this short turnaround. Even Leclerc right now would need a few races, and by which stage the the constructors' title's gone
but
anyway.
I mean, no. Look, it's not even plausible that Leclerc will leave Ferrari this season. So yeah, so what I would technically, if I was Christian
There's
Horner, which
nothing
first
to
of all,
do.
I'll hate myself if I was Christian Horner. But if I was, I would keep Lawson till the end of the season, irrespective of what he does, because I know the options that I have on the table, they are not going to work.
I would
Let's be
differentiate on
very,
that,
very
which
clear.
is I would keep Lawson for 6 races, right? After 6 races, I would look at it and say, right, it's not about his pace or anything, just how mentally broken is he?
Yeah.
And if he's mentally broken, give him a holiday in Racing Bulls, pull Sonoda up, and just fucking pray to whatever god you believe in that he pulled something off, because that's your only option. Like, there is no other option.
Yeah.
There's none.
Fine. Even if you want to do that, do it. Then you're basically ruining Yuki as well. But again, that's what Red Bull does.
Yuki's going for next year from Red Bull anyway.
Yeah.
so
Break
break
that's
him.
also there.
Break him. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
And for 2026, I'm targeting George Russell. I'm going all out. I'm targeting George Russell. I'm getting him in the car because that is the only option that is left on the market right now. There's no one else. That
Or a
is it.
Leclerc.
Leclerc is not available.
He could be.
He isn't. I mean,
Listen.
If he did not,
Look,
if he did not leave after 2022 and 2023, he's
Sure.
not leaving now.
Did you hear his radios the last couple of races? I think that man is having a mental breakdown. Like, can you
I do
imagine
not even blame
calling
him,
your race
honestly.
engineer and going, "There's water in my seat," and your race engineer says, "Must be the water." Like, you're expecting that team to build you a championship-winning car? Like, really? Like, genuinely, you call someone up and you say, "Hey, it's raining and I'm wet," and they go, "Yeah, it must be the water." And you're going, "Oh, cool. Can you now build me the fastest car in F1?" Like, that's just, it's not going to happen. I'm sorry. Just leave. Get out of there. They hired, like, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Since
They let
2022, I've asked
Enrico
this
Cardile
question.
go going into the final season, like of a race. Oh, yeah, they've done everything wrong.
I mean, other than vibes and marketing, what good is Ferrari doing? Honestly,
nothing. They're selling some cars. That's it, really.
yeah. Artifos is stupid, to be honest. 18 years of heartbreak. I mean,
Like,
at one point, everyone moves on.
you're in a situation now where, like, they were at one point they said with Nui that he was asking for too much. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, Ferrari? Like, give him everything he wants. You have the money, you have the infrastructure. Just like, yeah, sure. Whatever. If he comes in and says, "I want $500 million a year and I want complete free reign to do whatever I want," Ferrari should be going, "Yep, here's your check. Have a good day." Like,
Exactly.
like, even if it just means keeping him away from another team, that would have been money well
100%.
spent, Like,
I
then
would
Enrico
not
Cardile
understand
wants
the
to
whole
leave.
thing.
No, we're cutting your legs off. You're staying. Simple as. Jonathan Wheatley is fucking off to, like, the guy in charge of race operations for Red Bull is leaving. Sauber got him. Why have Ferrari not picked that guy up? Like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, how have you not picked him up?
Seriously, I mean that's such a big question. Because what's the big hire at Ferrari other than Lewis Hamilton?
No one. Like, Fred Vasseur was the biggest, and that was because they had no other option, realistically. Like, how has there been so many, like, Newey has changed, Jonathan Wheatley has changed, Rob Marshall left Red Bull for McLaren. Like, you've got Dan Fallows, who they could have easily sniped for at one point.
They could right now.
Yeah,
they could right
sure.
now.
Yeah,
Mike
they could bring him in.
Elliott, by the way, sitting on the sidelines, not picking him up. Why?
But my point is, Jonathan Wheatley's gone to Sauber. Like, surely Ferrari could have paid him more, Like,
I mean, who wants to go to Italy anyways?
I just doesn't make none of the. Basically, what they've done is said, "Yeah, we hired Lewis Hamilton." It's like, yeah, that's great, like, that's brilliant, and like, it's a big storyline. But your problem is not the drivers.
But it's not WWE, right? It's
But also,
Formula One.
your problem
That's
is,
the big-
like, as I said last year, it's brilliant, but
Drivers
the
are
problem
not
is
the
not the drivers. Sainz was a perfectly capable driver at it. He was pulling brilliant performances out. Like, you have Leclerc, you had who was a brilliant number 2 in Sainz, who, was doing a great job at the team. Your car and your team and your strategy is the problem. Like, fix that first.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing that's going to happen is 2020. Again, I hope, first of all, I
James
hope
Vowles,
this
by the way,
happens.
left. Why isn't he at Ferrari? Like, can you imagine if Ferrari had have made James Vowles the team principal? They'd be winning the championship this year.
I mean, it
I have
would be
no
so
doubt.
weird. Honestly, it would be so weird where, I mean, a truly English man speaking speaking for Ferrari and it like a completely Italian team.
But
That would be
I'm telling
so
you,
out of place, honestly.
if James Vowles had have joined Ferrari instead of Williams when he did, they would be winning. They'd be fighting for the title right now. I have no doubt in my mind. Like, no doubt.
They are right now. They are level with Ferrari in the championship. So
But also,
maybe
they would have been
there's something.
fucked as well, because I think James Vowles would be the only person who I think is like slightly on a spectrum who would just be completely blunt in front of the media when they're like, "Why did you hire Lewis?" or like, "Why did you do this and this?" And he'd be like,
I didn't.
Well, he'd be like, "No, the board at Ferrari overruled me on that."
Yeah,
And the
Yeah.
board would be like, "Oh
exactly.
shit,"
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I mean, I hope this happens, but I am still not sure. Start of 2026, if Ferrari sucks, I think Leclerc is done. He has an exit clause.
Yeah,
He's done.
yeah.
I think. Yeah, I think next season it's going to happen with a lot of drivers where they'll see how the cars are. Again, depending entirely on the technical
if the
regulations.
regulation changes,
Yeah.
they could all be driving V10s next year.
I mean, how? I mean, it's not a serious sport anymore, is it?
Bring back Bernie Eccleston. That's what I say.
Yeah, I mean, even at least he ruled the ship properly.
Yeah.
So
at least he put his foot
yeah.
down and went, "No, I'm not." Because like, there's a guy at the moment trying to do that. And he's doing it horribly wrong.
Yeah, I mean, the entire talk around we have a V10, we have almost all team principals making a statement. Stefano Domenicali is nowhere.
No, and I was
Yeah.
talking about Mohammed, but anyway, yeah, just
MBS, yeah. Yeah.
Not the
And-
Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, by the way, the other MBS.
Yeah, just
yeah.
similar level of disgusting. human
They're
being.
they're equally discriminatory and equally dictators, but one of them just has a much less important job and is doing it much worse. And I'll
Yeah,
let you figure
and
out which
have,
one.
Both have a certain disdain of media, and only one of them cuts
yeah.
people up
Yeah.
in a Turkish embassy.
Did the FIA cut someone up in a Turkish embassy?
Of course.
And
Who else do you think I'm talking
The
about?
difference is that the FIA probably would have automatically played the killing over the team radio, whereas the
might have actually
Saudis just
done
let
that.
it leak instead.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyways, enough of
Yeah.
Red Bull.
How is it that fuck all happened in this race? And I think we have the most. We have more to talk about than Australia. I don't
Yeah.
know. This is ridiculous.
But still, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah. It's good.
Look, Formula One is back.
Yes.
That's the biggest thing for me. At least.
Yeah.
By the way, Mercedes. Let's move on to Mercedes. And,
George Russell. Specifically, George. right?
He's finally, apparently, he's getting his flowers, and he got his flowers from Toto Wolff for a change, who said that George has finally stepped up, according to him. I mean, we've been saying it since last season, but of course, we are fucking idiots.
George stepped up in 2022 when he got the only win of the season in the team against the 7-time world champion. That's when
Yeah.
George fucking stood up. So shut up, Toto.
So, yeah, I mean, Toto only had eyes for Lewis at the time, right, in
Yeah.
the 3 seasons. So once that is gone,
What is the deal with the higher ups at Mercedes, by the way? Because you've got James Vowles taking Carlos Sainz to a hotel room, you know.
you should have
Anyway.
you've not heard the post race team radio between James Walls and Carlos Sainz, where Carlos talked about, okay, we've made a lot of we made a lot of progress, but I think I'm faster than this.
Yeah.
James Walls comes and said, I know Carlos, I know you're faster than this. Like,
Well, James is
And the
probably just, in fairness, he's probably just happy that the car wasn't in a wall. So, yeah.
yeah, what a change.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, yeah, look, the work that he's done, it's good. They
Anyway,
are
sorry,
fourth in the championship.
George Russell.
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad.
Coming
Yeah,
back to George.
yeah, yeah.
Again, like always, overlooked.
Yeah,
George,
yeah.
story of his life. It's just that I think for me the biggest thing is he's becoming more and more of a team leader. The kind of
Yeah.
calls that he's making.
The way he talked on the radio to the team was very
Yeah.
like, no, I'm the leader now. I am the
Yeah.
captain now. Yeah. It was
Exactly.
very,
And
yeah.
you have to keep an eye on. I think still it's two race weekends, so maybe there's still a few things that need to develop. You need to see it for a longer period. But early signs are good in terms of, making the most of it. And I think Max and George, both of them stood out for their respective teams where,
Yeah.
and it's just a very basic thing. When a driver of this kind of talent, when they are not shackled by the shit show that sometimes a team can be, yeah, I'm talking about Ferrari, they tend to be a bit they tend to get the job done. That's what George did. He had the extra mental capacity to actually think about, okay, maybe we can try something different with the tire preparation, and it worked like a charm. He started on the front row. That's the kind of stuff that sometimes a Ferrari driver cannot even dream of doing.
George just like I just don't get this underrating of George. I really don't. And like I get it from fans because fans are morons a lot of the time. Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. Subscribe. Um, they'll just literally see someone who drives 22 incredible races and crashes in two of them or something and goes, yeah, that guy's shit. It's like, what are you talking
Yeah.
about? Like, in no other situation would you, like, if a guy literally every single day of his life was the perfect person and 2 days told a lie, you wouldn't go, that guy's a liar and he's a horrible person. Like, you just wouldn't. That's not how we judge things. But in Formula One, it seems to be how we judge things.
Yeah.
Like, George, he's an incredible qualifier and he's proven that over and over again. Like, he just destroyed Lewis in qualifying last year. And
Yeah.
I think over their whole time together, he was just a better qualifier.
Yeah.
In the races, it was like, oh yeah, well, Lewis has better race pace. It's like, yeah, because he's coming through the field. Like George he finished behind George in more races than he finished ahead of him. So like George is incredible at race pace. He's brilliant at picking strategies. Like he's done this so many times. Sainz isn't one of those drivers I think that's very, very good at that. And George is brilliant at it as well. Like Zandvoort a couple of years ago where he said, no, I'm coming in for softs. I know he got disqualified at Spa, but in reality, he picked he picked the only way to win the race. It just didn't work
Yeah.
out.
He was first to call the single stop in Shanghai as well.
Yeah,
So,
his starts are epic. Like how many times have we seen George starting from like second or third place and coming out in the lead over the past couple of years? Brilliant, a lot. His wheel to wheel racing is fantastic. His attitude is fantastic. And we know that behind closed doors, he's willing to fucking shove a knife into a competitor as well.
yeah.
Like all the people who will be like, yeah, Max is the most aggressive and ruthless person and we love him for it, are the same people who are like, well, he's a whiny little bitch, that George, behind the scenes when he's putting the knife in. It's like, you would want Max to do the exact same thing. What are you talking about? Like, George is brilliant because he's like nice to the camera, PR guy, goes in and behind. He's like, no, fuck you guys. Like, this is mine,
Yeah.
Like, why isn't this guy
have to
getting
be
so much
very-
credit? I don't get it. It's just,
I think being Lewis Hamilton's teammate hurts, and
yeah.
I think George is going to go through the same phenomena that a lot of Lewis Hamilton teammates go. Where, look, let's be honest, there is a large chunk of Lewis Hamilton fan base that's on social media, and there is a very clear criteria that goes with him. Every driver, according to a Lewis Hamilton fan, Lewis Hamilton is the GOAT. Then you have Nico Rosberg. Then you have, who is the next one? Bottas. Then you have Heikki Kovalainen. Then you have George Russell, all these guys. And then you talk about Senna, Prost, Michael Schumacher. That's a good list if you go by their criteria. And you're going to see a lot of it now because apparently you see now people with the comments that, so I think George is better than Charles Leclerc. Where did that come from?
Do you know what the crazy thing I think is going to be? It's going to be the case that, look, the Red Bull in Max's hands, and we've talked about why already,
Yeah.
the Red Bull is a faster car than the Mercedes at the minute, right? Like, simple as.
It was faster in the
Australia.
first
It was
race.
faster.
I won't say it was the faster in the second
Okay,
one.
but okay. Well, then let's just say that George and Max have similarly paced cars. I think that's fair to say, right?
Yeah.
What are Max fans and every other fan going to say if George finishes ahead of Max in the drivers' championship this year? Because your excuse can't be that Max's car was the fourth fastest. Like no, they were both driving similarly paced cars this year.
Okay, look, if there's a
George could
similarly
win the
paced,
title this year.
that's what I'm going to say right now.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
George is if they have the similarly paced car and George is beating Max, first of all, wow.
Yeah.
Secondly, I think he wins the
Because neither of
championship.
us underestimate how fucking good, like Max,
Yeah,
we've both said it, best driver since Schumacher, in our
yeah,
opinion. If
yeah.
George can beat him in a similarly paced car, that's a
He
fucking
is
statement.
he's
Like,
probably winning the championship or being very, very close to winning the championship.
if that is the case, unless Lando and
By the
Oscar
way,
are like, yeah.
unless Max's head falls off and he just,
Yes, of course.
throws his toys out of the
We
pram,
can't
which
just
is
take
a
we can't just
possibility.
take it by points either. Like there could be Red Bull fuck ups. We'll have to take
Yeah,
everything into account. But
exactly.
if he's fighting Max, even if it's not for the win, like if he's fighting Max for like second place and they're in similarly paced cars and he beats Max, like that's going to say
Boy,
a lot
wow.
for George, and
Yeah,
that's going to cause a lot of people to have a very difficult argument when you're like, oh, he bottles it all the time. It's like, well, he didn't when
yeah,
it mattered, did he? I think he
exactly.
could win the championship this year. I think he's in a good position to do it, and the reason why is just that.
Looking at the Mercedes, my argument will be purely based on the Mercedes because out of all the cars, Mercedes looks the most benevolent in terms of it does not want to throw the driver off the seat.
Yeah,
So once you have that, you can put on downforce and
you can
maybe
add pace. Yeah,
the
yeah,
car
yeah.
won't be a bitch and it
There's
would be less, it would be more consistent, it would be less mistake prone.
yeah,
And if you have that kind of a car which is more driver friendly, you tend to get more consistent results
there's
out of it.
there's two or three reasons I think there's a good chance he could win, and one of them is George's consistency is spectacular. We've seen that already across the first two races, right? Just quietly
Yeah,
coming home on podiums.
yeah,
That's one of the main reasons. He just delivers whatever the car will give, like Max in many ways. Whatever the
yeah,
car
yeah.
is capable of, George will get that for you. And he did that last year, just consistently the whole year. Just whatever it was capable of doing, he was just getting it. The other thing is, there's certain races where Mercedes will win, I think. There's just certain
Yeah, yeah.
tracks where Mercedes will get wins. And once the
100%.
car is capable of that, George will do that. So if George is sitting around in like second and third every weekend, like, getting podiums most weekends, and then gets 3 or 4 wins across the season, you could easily have a situation where like McLaren, we know, will fuck up at points and lose
Yeah.
big chunks of points. Lando has made silly mistakes at areas where he'll lose points as well. Oscar and Lando then fighting is going to help because they're going to be taking points off each other. And Red Bull's in a tricky situation where it looks like they are trying to fucking figure out the second driver situation. And that might mean fucking around with the balance of the car. And also, we saw last year, because that car is so peaky, there's going to be tracks where Max could end up finishing P6, P7 just because the car is so peaky. Like George could be the consistent one where you've got weekends where Ferrari's winning, but then when Ferrari are off, they're down in P7, P8. McLaren
Yeah.
fuck up, they're down in P7, P8. The car is too peaky, like Max is down in P7, P8. And consistently, George is just P3, P4, P2, P3, P4. Like just consistently around there. Couple
The
of
2012
wins.
Alonso season.
Yeah, and couple of wins, and all of a sudden, boom. And the difference with 2012 is Alonso had one main competitor who just destroyed it, over the last half of the season. You could have a George where everyone else is swinging around, and he's just consistent. And that's it. Like, he wins
Yeah.
a title. Like, it could be the most anonymous title win in history. Like, genuinely, And all of a sudden people go, oh, is George a title-worthy driver? It's like, yes, he has been for a long time. What the fuck are you
Yeah.
talking about? Yeah.
All of them are.
Yeah.
Lando, Oscar. Again, a lot of people are going to be pissed off because I added Lando in this. Lando, Oscar, George, Max, Lewis, Alonso. All of them are.
Yeah, all
My
capable.
worry with George is a single one, and it's the driver in the other cockpit because, yeah, while there are a few good things about him, again, there are a few areas which I've flagged off a few times now. One of the biggest ones is he's too nice, and I think that hurts him a lot in terms of not only development but hunger, and he
Who,
should not have
George
finished
or
behind Kimi.
Kimmy? Yeah,
Kimi
yeah, yeah,
Antonelli.
yeah.
Kimi has pace, he has raw speed, he has talent, but in terms of intangibles, there's one thing that is missing, and it is the wheel to wheel ability. I think he's not aggressive enough, and I think he should be more aggressive. You cannot. if you're driving a Mercedes, you cannot finish behind a Yuki Tsunoda, irrespective of be
Yeah,
it a sprint or a
this was a
race.
strange weekend for Antonelli, right? Because after
Yeah,
Australia, I know he qualified further back than George, but also like after Australia, I expected him to kind of come through. The only thing I will say is I want to see what Antonelli does in the next couple of races, because we saw in the sprint with Lando, for example, like how fucking
my worry
difficult it
is
was to
yeah.
pass.
No, my worry is not that he won't get better. My worry is that he is going to have a tragic. Again, he's not going to be a Max Verstappen. I can rest assured that is not going to. He's going to have a different trajectory. The worry is that the way he's being fathered by Toto, George has a very, very small window in which he has to prove to Mercedes and whatever that, okay, this is the title win or whatever. As soon as Kimi kicks it up a gear, I
I get what you
think the
mean. Yeah,
entire
yeah, yeah.
focus moves towards Kimi and George becomes the odd one out. And you
Yeah.
do not want that. You don't want to be the Daniel Ricciardo of Red Bull in 2018.
No,
That's what
no, no.
he's tending towards, unless he wins the title this
If he wins a
season.
title this season, like we've
It
seen this,
changes everything.
well, we've seen this in the past. Like if you once you have a title in F1, you're almost given like an honorary seat for as long as you want it. Like no matter
Yeah,
how badly, like Kimi Räikkönen drove around terribly for so long. Like I love Kimi, but his Ferrari years, most of it
Jack
was
Villeneuve.
yeah. Like these guys just once you have a title, it's like kind of oh, he's really shit
Oh
this
yeah,
year.
oh,
But yeah,
Damon
he
Hill.
has a title. It's fine. Leave him. You know,
Yeah,
Damon Hill. Yeah. Yeah. There's so many drivers, isn't there? Like if Ricardo had
yeah,
won a title in his Red Bull years, he would be no problem around today. Like he'd be
yeah,
driving wherever
100%.
he
Yeah,
wanted. Yeah. Yeah.
and being paid a shit ton of money
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
as
It's just
well.
it's a so if George wins the title this year, if he somehow manages to pull it off, he'll
I think
just be
that's the most important thing, right? For him, and I think he does realize he has to be very careful about the other driver in that seat because the script is already written, right? He doesn't have too many
he
years at
you know
that
what
team.
he needs to do? He just any weekend where there's a sniff of a win, he cannot let Antonelli get it. Like any sniff of a podium, if he's
Yeah,
not
but it's
ahead of him on
inevitable,
that,
right?
yeah.
It's
But
if it's not this season, it's next season or the one after. George has to future-proof himself in a way that either he finds which next team is going to be the next dominant one and moves there before anyone else pounces, or he has to just dominate and make a Stoffel Van Doon out of Kimi Antonelli, which
yeah,
Alonso
yeah,
did,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? Either of those, and he's golden. Other than that, he's in a tricky situation because look, Ricciardo took a gamble because there was no other place for him to go. George should not, ideally, should not find himself in that situation, but it could happen. That's why I said, give Red Bull a punt. Maybe give Red Bull a punt. What's worse that can
I
happen?
think moving before 2026 is a mistake, though. I genuinely do
I mean, who
because
knows what happens in
sure,
2026?
I just don't see a world in which Red Bull is beating Mercedes next year. I just don't see it happening. You know, and in that
No,
case,
ideally, if it's 2026, I would say go to Aston Martin.
yeah,
That's what I'd say.
yeah.
So yeah, let's talk a bit about the rookies, right? Just breeze through it.
Yeah.
Antonelli's, I didn't really like the entire weekend.
Yeah.
Again, there was some damage or something, but it wasn't the most.
They found some floor damage after, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Apparently, he got the best. What was it? The driver of the
Driver
day,
of the
whatever it's
day.
called.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
it was like for
20%.
what? What are you talking about?
And when he said
eighth.
me,
Yeah, it was like started eighth, finished eighth, did absolutely nothing, wasn't on camera. Like what are you like? What
he
was this?
finished. He was sixth, right?
Only because of the disqualifications. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Great job, Ferrari.
By the way, I think if just I forgot to mention this earlier. Lewis missed a trick, by the way, because I think if Lewis had have damaged his front wing, he would have had 20 or 30 points less downforce, and he wouldn't have worn the plank as much. I think he missed a trick.
Oh yeah, probably.
Yeah.
It was the rear, right? Yeah. It won't have happened. True.
Yeah. So
Maybe.
maybe that's where
Things went.
fucking
Haywire.
Leclerc probably showed him when skid wear plank wear or whatever. Ha,
Yeah.
he should have broken his front wing, smiling away, and then Ferrari's like, We're sorry, your car is underweight, Charles. Oh, for fuck's
Yeah.
sake.
Yeah. Can I have one? And he said, why am I so unlucky? Remember,
You-
he had this team radio.
What? We got disqualified because of the weight. Why? Must be the weight. Just such a terrible thing. Yeah. Antonelli was strange. Behrman finally showed up as Behrman, I think, a little bit this weekend. So that was good.
I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah,
The Chow thing.
Everyone got so annoyed about that. What the fuck is that about?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. What the fuck? Yeah. Exactly.
it's
my
great.
point. And who?
What are they
by the
like? Do
way,
they think that
I
what
did
is
not
he?
see him
Is it offensive to
uh,
Italian plumbers or what's the deal? Like, I don't.
Who
get
did
this.
he do it to, by the way?
Just everyone he passed.
So apparently Lawrence said that he did it to the Alpine drivers, both of them. And just as an ode for Ocon, what happened with Ocon. So
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
yeah, I don't know exactly because Lawrence told me. So I saw the whole post-race post-race show that was there, and both Ocon and Behrman were standing, and he said that, yeah, I said ciao. And apparently Ocon asked who did you overtake, and he overtook Gasly. He said good.
yeah. So anyway, Behrman good.
Behrman was good.
Why do people get offended by something like that? Like, what is wrong with these people?
People are stupid, and
Yeah.
they're looking for reasons to get it.
People are really easy to offend, but apparently not on this podcast, you pricks. So anyway,
We need to change the rules.
yeah.
That's
Ciao. Yeah, there. Maybe people will subscribe now.
Gabriel Bortoleto.
Yep.
Not the best weekend, right?
He's driving a Sauber, let's be honest.
Did you see the
Australia was an
replay that I posted, by the way?
anomaly, yeah.
Did you see the replay that I posted?
No.
Race start, both Sabers just going through I think it was the first, you can say the high speed section in the second sector. Just no issues, nothing. Out of the blue, spun off. Spun off track. Both of them. Not just only Bortoleto, Hulkenberg as well.
Banana skin.
And neither of them have any clue why that happened.
Banana
and they
skin.
just damaged the floor after the first lap, and that is it.
Yeah.
Like, what?
No, it's just Sauber are back to being Sauber, so that's good. So we're back to normal. What other rookies are? Jack Doohan
Jack Doohan
will be
and
replaced by
he
Colapinto in
outqualified-
4 races.
I think he again outqualified Gasly, right?
Doesn't matter, where did he finish?
Where did he finish? I don't know. Yeah, he actually accrued 4 penalty points. So, yeah, great job.
I'd just like to personally welcome Colapinto to the Alpine team. Yeah.
By the way, I mean, this is slightly confusing for Alpine, right? If they are replacing, if they want, they want Colapinto, that's a known thing, right? But who is the slow driver that they have to replace? And if a rookie is out qualifying Gasly in just the second race of the season, I think he did so. Did he do it even in Australia as well?
Can't remember. Let me have a look.
Maybe, I don't remember either.
2025, China. So in China, in regular qualifying, Doohan was 2 places behind Gasly in regular qualifying. And in Australia...
No, Australia he didn't. Australia, his lap got fucked up. Yeah.
Yeah. You mean his driving got fucked up. But yeah, so he's just
It's 1-2, right?
Just put Colapinto in, and please stop talking about Colapinto going to the Red Bull family. I don't want that. Sorry, I just don't.
It's not
No,
happening,
thank
by
you.
the way. Even
No.
I asked a couple of people.
Yeah, so did I.
not
They
happening.
said there's no chance of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The plan apparently, or the rumor apparently, was to put him in the RB, the junior team. It's not happening, and I don't want it to either.
Yeah, Flavio came in. Like, who the...
Flavio is not letting a driver go. Like,
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
After this, put so much money into it.
Flavio shows us like, we have a contract. He's like, you tell Eddie Jordan. Like, Eddie Jordan's dead. So was his contract. Yeah. So you know what Flavio's like. Oh, rest in peace, Eddie Jordan. By the way, what a legend. Yeah. What an absolute legend. Oh. That's still Jordan. No, I was going to say it's still the only team, or it's still the only version of that outfit to win. But no, Sakira as well, right? It was Racing Point. With,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah.
I might not even be following Formula One if it wasn't for Eddie Jordan giving Narain Karthikeyan a chance.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, 2005 was the first season I started watching because he was on the grid. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on.
It's amazing to think when you think about it as well. Like, there's a good chance, like, Schumacher probably would have joined at some point, but there is a chance he wouldn't have just because Jordan was the one to give him a shot, you know? Like, that's kind of crazy when you think about it.
Apparently,
Like,
that is
Mercedes had
that
to pay
was-
150,000 euros or pounds for him to have a shot in the Jordan.
Yeah.
And Eddie Jordan was the only one willing to give a rookie a shot, like, at the time. And
Him, Ralf Schumacher.
yeah.
I think there were a couple more.
Oh, there's
he
so many
kind of-
rookies, right? That he, like, so many young talents
he
that he
brought
brought in. Yeah, just an incredible.
Great legacy.
Yeah,
Just a week back, he was recording a pod.
yeah, isn't that
Yeah.
insane? That could be me next week. So if I don't show up next week, I could be dead. Yeah, but anyway, I'll
And
take.
by
If,
the way,
if I'm dead, I'll
by
take.
the way, you probably don't know. Rest in peace, George Foreman as well.
Why?
you
Did
have no
someone's
idea.
grill breakdown or?
Oh, so you know about the grill?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean-
I've had like 5 George Foreman grills in my life,
Yeah,
and I know who George Foreman is as well. Yeah.
yeah.
I
So
just
even
couldn't
he
help
was
it when someone I saw a load of RIP George Foreman on my timeline. I just
Yeah.
posted like, are George Foreman having a recall or what's happening? You know, just I'm sure that's the
Yeah.
joke he would have wanted.
Yeah, and he was awesome.
Yeah.
In many, I mean, his story is check his Netflix. It's a movie on him, Foreman. Amazing. Anyways,
Yeah.
coming back to Formula One.
Speaking of coming back from the dead, should we talk about science? No, I'm just
Yeah, nah. Isaac Hadjar, by the way, the final rookie. It's
Impressed?
He's good, but he's raw. Yeah, and it just shows how good the car is. Honestly, that's the only takeaway
So
that I.
you're saying that Max will be winning in that car, obviously, right? That's what you're saying.
Of course, he lapped the field.
Yeah. Because physics
that's
just
the
don't
impression.
exist for Max Verstappen.
Don't exist. Yeah,
Gotcha.
we don't apply it when it
Yeah,
comes
yeah.
to vibes in F1
Yeah.
Twitter. That's the only thing that
Yeah,
matters.
just all on vibes.
Yeah. Finally, the midfield just breezing through it. Racing Bulls, I mean, they find new ways to fuck things up. I cannot.
This is 2 races now.
I mean,
Like-
even Ferrari don't do that twice. But yeah,
No, they did, yeah. They did it 2 races in a row as well. Yeah. yeah. They did. So,
yeah, completely skipped my mind. And the funny thing was, they had Isaac Hadjar pit, and you could see from. By the way, first of all, he did a couple of laps, and I thought that okay, that was the right call. They should go for it. But after 2 more laps, you could just see his laps kind of petered out. They were back to the same levels at which I think Ocon, Albon, and Co were doing.
yeah.
Complete. And the great job is, as soon as it petered out, they pitted Yuki.
yeah.
Like screw both of them. Why should it only be one?
Just like imagine that. Just like, okay, so we tried this strategy, it's not working. Should we try it with the other driver? It's like, what are you doing? Like, it's the whole point of trying it with one driver.
The funny thing is, no one has tried it.
No.
And, yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah.
I couldn't.
I just
By the
don't.
way, they are going to put together some very impressive results this season. If the car
Yeah.
is this good,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
aerodynamically brilliant. I think Yuki had purple sector 2 almost. I think throughout qualifying,
Yeah.
which just shows how nimble the car is. It should do well in.
It's probably.
really-
I mean, if they can
I
actually
honestly
do
hope-
it.
Yeah, I honestly hope in Japan Yuki is allowed to drive the Racing Bull, not the Red Bull. So at least he can have a good weekend. I mean, screw him afterwards.
Yeah, because
Just-
like he could get like I'm not saying podium or anything, but he could get a properly good points finish in.
Kobayashi did.
Yeah, and also with Ferrari being Ferrari, and the Red Bull being
two cars are in
peaky,
this
and
Yeah.
the McLaren's calling a bad strategy not out of the question. Yeah, he could finish on the podium, definitely. But yeah,
Oh God. Haas, by the way, double points. By the way, even they don't know what actually.
that is the story of Haas, though, isn't it? Just like We just don't know.
That is never the story of Haas. It's usually bad and then it gets
No,
worse.
but I mean, they just don't know. So sometimes
No,
good.
They do know that things. So apparently, according to the race and Komatsu, both of them had somewhat similar views. They said that the track was less bumpy and they could ride it lower, so that helped them be better in the fast speed sections.
Okay, that makes
But
sense.
the jump was drastic.
Yeah,
They were nowhere in Australia.
No,
it
they were
wasn't even-
absolutely just the slowest of the field in Australia.
They were worse than what Sauber was last season in Australia. And now, out of the blue, they were just
Cheating?
brilliant.
Must be cheating, right?
Probably something happened. And
It's cheating.
I think, are they also leading Ferrari in the championship? They're very close.
No,
I mean,
no.
Ocon is ahead
The only
of
ones,
both of them.
Yeah, but Lance Stroll is ahead of both of them. Like, this
Yeah,
is,
but Lance had 2 races, right?
also, in fairness, Lance is beating Alonso in the championship as well. So, explain.
I was not.
That was not on my bingo card this year.
I know. I was not too upset when I saw it on Twitter, where I think there were a couple of people listed that Alonso is washed. I saw the race talking about in their 11 key takeaways, and according to them, and the reasoning made me chuckle and and pissed me off as well. The way they talked about it was Lance Stroll looks better on track when you compare him with Fernando Alonso. Sure, in Australia he was behind Alonso, but he was faster in qualifying, and Alonso made the mistake in Australia, even though they completely skipped the part where the car kind of bottomed out with the gravel and everything,
Yeah.
completely gone. Then they moved to China and they talk about, sure, Alonso was slower in sprint qualifying. The fact that Alonso finished ahead in the sprint was just for the cards falling in place or something like that. It was just full of excuses. This, and hence Stroll is the better driver in the first 2 races. And like, what the fuck are you doing? I mean, if you have to use these many sure in your article, in your explanation, then maybe don't do that.
I just think like also Alonso has 2 DNFs now, so that's why he's ahead. Like, simple as. But like, also
He was ahead.
Alonso
In both races he was ahead.
Yeah. Alonso also just doesn't give a shit about this season, I don't think. Like, that's the other thing we need to keep in mind.
He will not be. He would not have slept even a single day knowing
Yeah,
that
actually,
Stroll has
knowing-
10 points and he has
Yeah,
0.
yeah.
That petty bastard is not going to let it slide in
He's
any way.
so what you're saying is there's a good chance we'll see him as the number 2 Red Bull driver if this continues.
Would be nice. Would be nice. But yeah.
Yeah.
But again, Aston Martin is not that bad.
No.
It still sucks. I mean, it's not where it is supposed to be, but it's not that bad.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how that changes. I think that's
Yeah.
everything then. Is there anything else to...
That's it.
Obviously, we can
we'll
do our
the...
Japanese preview next week.
Yep, next week. Not this time.
Yeah.
We'll have decent enough time.
Do me a favor, everyone. You're not going to subscribe if you're not going to subscribe, so that's fair enough. But do us a favor, and what we'd love to do is maybe start asking some questions in comments and stuff, or pinging us on Twitter. I'd love to do like a question section maybe at the end of this, like quick fire kind of what do we think of things.
Yep.
That would be cool. Yeah, and otherwise either subscribe or fuck off. Thanks. Yeah.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Good night. Have a
Bye,
drink.
everybody.
Or maybe not.
Thank you. Bye.